Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency budget hearing to order. If we could have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Bailey? Board Member Cannavale?
Here.
Board Member Avila?
Here.
Board Member Davis?
Here.
Board Member Ross?
Here.
Vice Chairman Fletcher?
Here.
Chairman Losner?
Here. Thank you. We have before us, Mr. Manager or Mr. Director, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals from this agenda?
No, Board Chairman, there are not.
All right. Our next item is new business, the approval of the minutes of July 16th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Vice Chair Fletcher. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is tab 2, car number 4744, the adoption of fiscal year 2026 budget. Mr. Pearl, if you'll read that into the record, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 2 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 25-26 and directing the city manager or his designee to submit the budget to Miami-Dade County and the City Council for their respective approval, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Beck.
So we have a brief presentation that will look very familiar to you, as there are not any significant changes from the presentation that we had reviewed during the budget workshop. So I'll go through the highlights, but certainly at any point, if there are questions, feel free to stop and we can go into as much detail as you would like. As you know, our primary purpose with our funds is to make investment in our community in a way that attracts additional investment in the various ways that help to elevate and achieve the goals of the redevelopment agency. As we move into this new fiscal year, we have three particular goals that we're focusing on. One of them is to help to increase downtown's viability as an entertainment destination. And among the key goals with that will be the recruitment of restaurant, retail, entertainment, and other commercial uses, as well as leveraging the investment that the city and the CRA are making in some of our public infrastructure to help attract additional private investment. We also have key goals this year of advancing our own projects. As you know, the CRA has a number of projects underway or in partnership with the city, Chrome Marketplace, Shotgun, Flanagan's. So we are working to move those forward to see hopefully meaningful change over the next 12 months. And then the last of the primary goals that we have is to help improve the overall aesthetics within the CRA, as well as the awareness of all of the opportunity, the programs, and the great things that are happening within downtown Homestead and our CRA area. As you all recall, we've had some fairly steady budget growth over the last number of years, averaging about 10% year over year, which gave us a roughly $6 million budget in tax increment revenues for last year. This year, we'll see an equal appreciation, which will increase our tax increment revenue to about $6.5 million. As you all may recall, there has been a carryover the last couple of years for some larger capital projects that we'll be undertaking. Some of those are CRA projects, which we'll cover. Others are in partnership with Public Works on some of our main infrastructure work within the downtown area. Collectively, then, we'll have a little bit over $13 million for this current budget year allocated. And as you can see from the pie chart, much of this funding will be dedicated towards some type of project, either capital projects that we have specifically identified or other initiatives that will go in line with some of the other capital projects that we have occurring. There are also, as we touched on during the budget workshop, some additional rebate costs that we'll be incurring this year towards Miami-Dade County, which we'll cover as well. In terms of newer projects that we programmed in out of the $13.5 million budget, we have $1.5 million allocated for the Triangle project, which, as you all recall, that will cover our obligation, or at least a half of our obligation in terms of the water and sewer upgrades, undergrounding of the utilities, and some of the other infrastructure improvements. We've allocated $500,000 for Chrome Marketplace. We know that that is a priority project, and there are investments that we really will need to be looking at making it that. And then also Homestead Live, which is another item that we'll talk about in further detail tonight. We've allocated funds for land acquisition as well as some stormwater and pocket park improvements within the southwest neighborhood. We have a carryover this year of about $1.5 million in capital projects that were allocated last year with Public Works. The majority of that will go towards the water and sewer improvements along Flagler and Chrome Avenue, as well as additional infrastructure and utility improvements within the CRA area. We're also aligned with our goals this year, trying to allocate a fair amount of money towards some of the beautification efforts within the CRA, particularly some of the gateway areas that we have coming into downtown. The goal with this will be then to really leverage off the work that Public Works is doing, so take advantage of that as we look at some of these improvements. We've also allocated some funds towards general improvements on Washington Avenue. We know that Chrome and Flagler will take a new shape over the next year or so, and we want this one to the extent that we can help to elevate it and tie that in. We have an annual allocation that we provide for public safety as well as our landscape maintenance, and then we have sort of a catch-all in our other projects and general ops. That covers everything that ranges from our liability, building insurance, building maintenance, legal fees, essentially every other cost that we incur as a part of the CRA. And then we move into our other or administrative costs. As we had mentioned, or I had discussed briefly during our budget workshop, we know there's some potential increase in costs that will incur with Miami-Dade County. That will be a larger amount going forward for future years, as well as a catch-up from this current year, potentially. So we've allocated about $2.1 million, which may be the maximum we would have to fund, but that would make us whole if we're not able to negotiate something different. We'll allocate about $400,000 this year towards the city's general fund, which is a standard practice that all agencies do. We rebate the tax increment to the Cybrarium, so that's around $180,000. We have $350,000 in debt service, and then our total employee costs are about $1.2 million. As we look at our office and our movement forward over the next year, as you know, we are actively trying to recruit an additional assistant director that will focus more on economics, real estate, business attraction, economic development, and then also repositioning of a role that will focus much more on a business development specialist, communications and outreach in coordination with the downtown area. The assistant director is already budgeted, as is then the business development specialist, so this is more of a repositioning and new hire. And then we also have a series of programs. We do know and want to continue with the incentives that we have, particularly as it relates to business attraction and expansion. So on our preliminary budget, we've allocated about $260,000 for business relocation and expansion. We know there's already a couple potential businesses that we're starting to speak to, so these numbers may need to flex over time, but we do want to have that as a solid base. We'd also like to introduce this year a tax increment rebate program for some of our potential larger redevelopment projects as a means to provide meaningful incentives that don't necessarily cost us out of pocket and only will be funds that we expend once we're paid those. We'd like to have also an inclusion for a commercial hardship and an emergency repair grant program this year. And that is largely geared towards some of our smaller businesses within the downtown area. We know that there will be disruption with the work that occurs on Chrome, on Flagler. There may be utility issues that cause problems. And so this is a newer program, or these would be two new programs that we would be putting in this year, but just to be responsive, so we're hopefully not losing any businesses during this project or process. And then also, we have modified slightly the down payment assistance program that we have. Currently, the CRA allocates $10,000 and $15,000 respectively, depending if you do or do not live within the CRA. We do want to modify that amount to $30,000, which will match a city program. And hopefully become much more effective. As it has been the last couple of years, there's not necessarily been much activity with those. And then the last of the incentive programs that we would add would be a landscape and facade improvement program. I can tell you we already have one of those coming to likely in October, so I expect that these will be used as well. That's just over $500,000, and with that, we have allocated about $13.5 million. So at this point, I'm glad to go into as much detail, answer questions that you all have, or whatever discussion you would like.
Well, thank you, Mr. Beck. So, Mr. Perez, maybe he set the bar there at about 8 minutes for the presentation. I'll open it up for questions or comments from members of the board who would like to kick it off. Go ahead, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chairman. So obviously we've been over all these things already. I'm really happy to see a lot of these programs continuing. I know that one thing that came up during our briefings or the first meeting that we all had together is to just please be mindful of the rental and the utility assistance, especially when we're providing down payment assistance for homes, not that someone loses that home because of something smaller that we could have helped with as well. Sure. So as these other programs are rolling out that aren't necessarily part of the CRA, that there is conversation between the two and that we can stay on top of helping those residents continue to keep their homes. I don't think I have anything else. I'm excited for the business piece, the new person coming on to help with that business piece. I'm glad we're looking out for the new construction and making sure that doesn't harm any of the current businesses. That's a typical problem if people are having to detour around an area, that we can make sure that everyone knows that those businesses that are still open are open. And thank you for all your hard work.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to thank staff for putting together a great presentation. You answered a lot of my questions during our briefings. And just curious to, this will have a second hearing as well, correct, on the CRA side? Mm-hmm. So just any questions, any concerns for the general project? No? So no, this is the last one and last. Okay, but I am curious to hear the rest of our of my colleagues' comments on this. But in general, I think the budget does fund the priorities that we've had as a board. I know that there's going to be some ongoing discussions about projects with regards to Homestead Live and where we're going to implement investments in the city. But overall, it's a good outlook for the coming year, and I want to thank you for putting together this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Avila. Okay, so, sure, Board Member Roth. Thank you.
I'll go. Question. In my one-on-one last week, I started talking about the CRA, the moratorium, and some issues we're having with sewer connections for developments that are on the way. And I started thinking about the purchase of the Goodyear at $2.8 million, and how do we make a purchase of something like that when we can't hook up services to developments that are underway now. So I'd like to figure out a way to bring that to everyone's attention, that you've got developments that have been approved by this body up here, but they can't build, they can't get issued on permits because we can't provide sewer services to the area. And I think it's a little bit financially irresponsible to take $2 million out of the CRA budget when the pump station is directly inside the CRA and purchase that and have it sit dormant for years, but not have developers who've invested time and money, and we've made decisions to allow them to hook up to our services. So I want to think about that. I want to put it out there that I do think it's financially irresponsible to be making a $2.8 million purchase when we have other infrastructure issues that we could be using that money for. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from my board members to the left? So if I might, let me kind of piggyback or respond to your consistent opposition to the purchase of of that particular property. I think an important distinction is that out the door, the wastewater upgrades that are needed for the entire west side are about $6.5 million that we would need all up front. We believe that we're still in contention for the $2± million that were clawed back during the last federal process. Here we're coming up on October 1 at the federal level. That's going to be in play. I know that the manager has had several meetings with many, many developers who are all coming together to craft a plan to make that happen and not forfeit that $2± million that could be coming in the next 30 to 45 days from the feds. But I think the most important distinction is that acquisition is not that entire $2.8± million in 1 year, that it is $1 million in the first year. So we're not really depleting the CRA budget as we go forward. Now, those are mutually exclusive issues, and both are very important. The determining our own future in the downtown core and infrastructure. And I'm confident with some of the monies that we believe are coming into the Infrastructure Trust Fund with the federal funding and other means of doing that we can have both. It's not a zero-sum game. I think that's the right expression, that we can have both. So, I would not support any thoughts of walking away from that acquisition. I think there are ways that we can accomplish both of those needs. But again, it is something to think about how we are going to fund that. And I know that there have been some very productive meetings among various, now and in the future, various folks who are going to need that to tie in. Mr. Manager, anything to add on that issue?
Mr. Mayor and Council, the negotiation has not been finalized on that purchase, which is being spearheaded by myself, the director of the CRA, as well as the city attorney, Mr. Matt Perot. Suffice it to say that Council gave specific direction that the advertised price of $2.8 million, we should try as much as possible to negotiate something that is less than that. And that has been the focus of the ongoing conversation. On the Pump Station 11 issue, which is going to come up shortly when we discuss the Homestead Life, as well as a proposed revenue workshop that we intend to have, which I've said in this meeting several times, that first month in the new fiscal year, we will be bringing up a workshop on revenue generation and enhancements in the city. There are two potential options on how to fund Pump Station 11. One of which is the topmost priority, would be to expect that there will be some clarity and finality in the requested appropriation from the U.S. government for $2.2 million. Now, the second option is to proceed and generate internal sources of monies. All that will be led bare when we discuss that Pump Station 11 workshop. Suffice it to say again that one of the consequences of option one could potentially be we proceed with as we are going to discuss. If for any reason we get approval for that $2.2 million, which is already past congressional committee stage, if for any reason they release that money, we run the risk of losing that money because you've already commenced the project. So we have to either evaluate on a cost-benefit basis what is the least impactful option we may have to adopt. I'm very confident that either option council approves, we'll take it from there and get the project finalized. Mr. Director of Public Works, if you want to opine on the status of the design, which was initiated prior to some of the approvals of the development. To date, there are close to 5 or 6 development projects that are waiting on the wings that the design that we have today may have to be augmented to account for additional flows. And that cost estimate we have, I don't know whether that's going to be the final cost estimate, Mr. Director.
Good evening, Council. As the manager mentioned, the city had initiated a design for Pump Station 11 to be taken out of moratorium, which we had put pause on when we received 60% because the design only took into account the current demand for the basin and the subsequent basins that flow through it. When we became aware that there were going to be additional developments, we thought that it would be prudent to analyze and evaluate if we could do a larger rehabilitation of the pump station in order to not only accommodate the current demand, but the ones that we know of, and potentially future ones as well that may currently be outside of our service area but are adjacent. And we know that they're going to come and also try and tie into our system. We have engaged the services of a design consultant to perform that analysis as of last week. So they are working on that analysis for us to tell us what is needed to do the enhancement that I just relayed to you. In addition, as the manager mentioned, we're also looking at other alternatives, not only for funding, but design, so that we can get the developments that are currently in line waiting connected as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr.
Manager.
Director.
Mr. Director. Any further questions on that particular issue now? All right. Very good. Let me ask for any public comment, input on this proposed CRA budget that's before us. No public comment. All right, I'll close the public hearing then and entertain a motion to approve car number 4744, which would be the adoption of the fiscal year 2026 Community Redevelopment Agency budget. Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Board Member Cannibal. Are there any final questions or comments from the board? Sure, Board Member.
In this budget, is the purchase of the Washington property or in this budget?
So let me make a clarification, Board Member. The item that came before you previously to purchase that came through the City Council. So that was not a CRA-led purchase. The allocation that we have currently in here is not earmarked towards anything. That is at your discretion as the CRA board at what you choose to do if you choose to spend those funds. We had that allocation because over the last year there have been a number of properties that have been identified either by the CRA board or that we've seen that have come available. So as a placeholder, should there be a desire to make an acquisition by this board, that is what the close to $1 million was put in for. But there's no earmark for that allocation at this point.
So was it like 968,
Yes, I believe 988, something like that.
which was allocated for land purchases and
Correct.
other things? So, but if this council gives direction to use that money, there's nothing else available in the budget if there's other purchases that come along. Is that right?
Not unless this board chose to make other budget amendments.
Got it. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. That's a very important distinction that we needed to refocus on, that was a council initiative. All right. So nothing further then. We'll have a roll call vote to adopt the budget. for the
Board Member Davis?
Yes.
Board Member Cannibal? Yes. Board Member Ross?
Yes.
Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Bailey? Yes. Vice Chairman Fletcher?
Yes.
Chairman Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And our next item is tab 3, which is a discussion item titled car number 4746 regarding Homestead Live. Director Beck, take it away.
All right, board members, I believe you all have a manila envelope on your desk with a paper in it, which is probably the most important piece of backup that appears to have not printed properly in your actual booklet. This project, Homestead Live, is one that you all had approved or initiated in 2023, and in this current year's budget, you had allocated $300,000 towards. It was envisioned to be an outdoor entertainment venue in the southwest neighborhood on 3rd Court between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. It's on about a quarter of an acre of property owned by the city and roughly 2 blocks northwest of the Triangle property. This project would have some permanent features to it, a perimeter wall, restroom, some site improvements, as well as semi-permanent features in terms of a stage and also shipping containers that could be used for activation. And the intent of this, as I think you all know, was to be really an entertainment and gathering space for the community. There could be festivals and concerts, food trucks, other things like that, perhaps very much similar to a mini Woodwood type of a concept. Adjacent to this is also a very small parking lot that the CRA owns with about 15 different spaces. We wanted to bring this project forward to you because it is one that you have previously approved. There was an initial budget allocation for this current budget year to begin this project, and there was an RFP that had also been drafted for an operator of this facility to manage it for the city, or rather the CRA. The reason we wanted to bring this forward to you is that in the time that I have been here and looking at this project, I think it's a really terrific project. I love the idea, certainly a lot of fun and great activity. I have been concerned, though, about the location in terms of its success. And that location being a couple different things. One of them being is that this site is about a half a dozen blocks off of Chrome Avenue, so it is not a highly visible location as we look at drawing traffic in. It's also not directly on 4th Street, which is our kind of what we have called sort of a primary street within the neighborhood. It is behind a series of buildings for which we don't own, and there would be a cost with that. There's also going to be an issue in terms of the available parking that we have within the neighborhood. As I had mentioned, we have about 15 spaces in the parking lot that the CRA owns. There are some on-street spaces on Southwest 4th, but they're fairly narrow. So I have some consideration or concern for that. We also know with the Triangle project that's coming and anticipated other projects, there is larger investment coming within the area. So as we have had this conversation within the CRA, as we've engaged in dialogue with the city manager's office on this being really an interesting concept, the question has come up of, would we look at potentially relocating this to a different location, or is the board committed to this location where it is? If it were to be shifted, it could relocate to other CRA property, other city property. There's been some potential interest with Miami-Dade College. We could also look in the broader CRA area itself for this. So the overall budget that had initially been prepared for this when you approved the project was about $1.25 million. It would take presumably about 2 years from the time you initiate this to go forward. But we wanted to bring this to you today really for an update, and also under the office as it is now, have the direction of either to proceed in its current location as you had anticipated, to proceed perhaps in a slightly different location within the CRA, or to say that this is not a project we want to continue with at this point. So in your packet, I think you have what we handed out today, the overall project sheet. There are some also other renderings or concept ideas that have been developed along the way. So with that, we'd like to entertain the discussion and gain some direction from you all.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Who would like to kick off the conversation, Board Member Bailey?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I think you definitely nailed it with appreciating the concept, because I also think that it's just such a really neat idea. The different opportunities that we would have to use that space, some of the first designers and groups that helped form this. I visited some of their locations that they have in Little Haiti, and I could visualize it here. I do appreciate your comments on the location, and I do agree that it is not the location right now. But at the same time, we've done a lot in the downtown, and I was really hoping to move things more into the southwest neighborhood to really have some more opportunities for a lot of our youth who are in aftercare programs or in schools there to have somewhere they can walk to. So I love Miami-Dade College. I know that that would also be a great piece. But personally, I was excited for this being more in the southwest neighborhood, somewhere more walkable for the youth there. So as far as the location, I think we can definitely discuss that a little further. I was visualizing, if we start building it, they will come. Those old buildings there on 4th Street, those old commercial buildings, I see them revitalized and neat little corner stores to, again, walk to. But I do understand that it's not, I don't think it's the time now. And with the cost going up, Councilman Roth mentioned, Board Member Roth mentioned about the pump station. I was going to suggest that as well, with the end goal of the CRA being to stimulate the economy as well, then wouldn't it be more in our interest to focus on that first, but definitely not lose sight of this very unique idea that I think would do really well with the arts. It offers so many different opportunities. So it would be okay with me if we do push it down the line a little further, focus on this pump station, and revisit it as soon as possible. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. And I am completely on board with refocusing for the foreseeable future. It is an interesting concept, and we're all hopeful that the parks bond will pass, and perhaps this can be incorporated into some wholesale renovations of a park area in the Southwest, or acquisition of new park area for that. Yeah, I've always kind of been concerned about this location, just, and maybe there's some land swaps to be had. In preparing for this item tonight, I learned that there has been some recent acquisitions surrounding it where, folks are clearly making an investment. I just kind of had the thought of whether or not the concept there was really compatible with what seems to be happening in that corridor of 2nd Avenue. So appreciate your thoughts, Board Member Bailey. Anything further from my right?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I agree 100%. I do love the concept, and perhaps there is an opportunity to try to incorporate some of the aspects of it in the Triangle property development. Perhaps consider it to be more towards US 1 in the CRA area, leading towards that side, or turning this property, the lot itself, into more of a youth-friendly park versus an adult-focused entertainment center. So I think that we can definitely brainstorm how to make this project a huge success and supplement the budget, especially the pump station 11, with the funds if we can for now. But not to cancel the project, just put a pause in it for now. Thank you.
Right, and I'm going to guess here, it seems that we would reallocate the $500,000 or $550,000 to general infrastructure. So again, not to get tangled up with the potential of the federal grant. Would that be the track to take? Okay. Thank you. Anything further? Councilman, Board Member Davis.
I just had a quick question. Do you have a short list of alternative locations for this? And if you don't, how long would it take you to kind of put that together?
We have not prepared a formal list. We have looked at general locations, being the parking lot that we own immediately southeast of Homestead Station. We have looked at the property that the city owns between Flagler and this building, the busway. That has also extended up onto the college's property. There are a few other areas that we have a couple of parcels, we being the CRA, own adjacent to one another that could potentially evolve into it, but we've not created anything informal beyond what we've just sort of discussed or what I've shared.
So how long do you think it would take to make that kind of a list, which would include properties that you may need to swap or acquire, all that kind of, it could be how long?
day, 2 days.
Okay, very good.
Fairly briefly. Now, that said, we certainly would want to also have the discussion with the manager's office as well.
Yes.
Because we have also looked at instances where we own property that's adjacent to city property, so there may be some consideration there.
With a focus on the Southwest, that'd be great. I look forward to seeing your list.
So we'll look to have something put together in the next week for you with
Thanks.
the manager's office.
Thank you, Board Member Davis. Board Member Roth.
Thank you. This is kind of out there, but you mentioned the bathrooms being installed at this location, and did we ever get the bathrooms, are they ever planned for Harris Field, not Harris Field, Losner Park? Do we have temporary bathrooms out there now?
There's permanent bathrms there.
Permanent.
They were constructed?
Behind the dance studio.
Okay, so I knew at one point there was just those little, what do you call
The
those things?
portables.
The portable ones. Okay, good. I was going to think maybe if we didn't do that yet, we could get
No,
that done. but-
that was done.
All right, good. I never use them, so I don't know.
They're very nice.
There, they serve the purpose. Yes.
People
So, then to be clear, so is it the direction of the board to hold Homestead Live in abeyance and reallocate that $550,000 under a general infrastructure category? Okay. What's it? Yes, Mr. Manager? Did you wish to?
Yeah.
Okay. Matt, excuse me, Mr. Pearl, does that need to be in the form of a formal motion or just a general conversational directive?
No, I think that staff has its consensus from here.
Excellent, very good. Well, that is the end of the agenda items that we have tonight from the CRA.
Okay. Anything further from the members of the board with respect to the CRA? Hearing and seeing none, then, do we have a motion to adjourn the CRA budget meeting? Moved by Board Member Ross, seconded by Board Member Davis. All in favor? Aye. And we will convene the first budget hearing for the general fund momentarily. What's it? I see. Tom, not here. Yeah. Wait. All right, let's try to move on. All right. I'd like to call the City of Homestead, wrong script, fiscal year 2025-2026, first public budget hearing / special call meeting to order. Let's have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Avila. Here. Councilman Cannavale. Here. Councilman Davis.
Here.
Councilwoman Bailey. Here. Councilman Roth. Here. Vice Mayor Fletcher.
Here.
Mayor Losner.
Here. And what I would like to do, in our Committee of the Whole agenda, we have a couple of insurance items, and the presenter is here. And we also have a presentation on the Qualic B. In order to not require those folks to sit through a lengthy budget hearing, I'd like to recess. We've opened this meeting according to the published publication. I'd like to have a motion to recess the budget meeting. We will then convene the CAL meeting for those two items and come back to this budget meeting, do the budget meeting, and then reopen the CAL. So do we have a motion to recess the budget meeting? Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Councilman Cannavale. Is there any public input, anything further from council? All right, do we need a roll call, or we can just do a voice?
Voice vote's fine for this.
All right, all in favor of recessing this meeting? Any opposed? All right, so having said that, I will now call to order the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole agenda. Today is still September 9th, 2025, and it is at about 6:10 p.m. Let's have a roll call for the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Councilman Roth. Here. Councilwoman Avila. Here. Councilman Cannavale. Here. Councilwoman Bailey. Here. Councilman Davis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fletcher.
Here.
Mayor Losner.
Here. Thank you. So for purposes of we just discussed, let's jump to tabs. Looks like tab
5?
5
Yeah.
and 6, and then we will go to tab 11. So, tab 6. Welcome. 5, tab 5. Yes.
Alrighty, good evening, Mayor and Council. Babette Freeman, HR Director. The item before you is our fiscal year 2026 renewal for our cyber liability coverage. We are happy to announce with our brokers, Brown & Brown, that we went out to market for our cyber liability. And of course, we were able to obtain favorable terms. We're happy to announce a 17.4% decrease. So that is about, I believe it's about an $8,000 savings, which was budgeted for the fiscal year 26. Of course, with everything going on in the world with cyber liability, we were able to attract some new enhancements to the plan that will be able to protect the city. So right now we are recommending approval to move forward with the renewal with Houston Casualty Company for several reasons: the cost savings, the enhanced protection, and then most importantly, the stability staying with the same carrier. That's important in these markets.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions or comments from council? I'd like to thank Mr. Jones and his team at Brown & Brown for bringing in this for a landing once again. I know we do this every year with the budget, but it sure seems like we're talking insurance more often than we are talking budgets. Looks like there's finally some relief coming out there, and we're really reevaluating our needs. So, is there any questions or comments from council? Let me open the public hearing on tab 5. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a, this will be a voice motion. And Vote on tab 5. So, moved by Bailey, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And tab 6.
Alrighty, good evening again. This is the renewal for our general liability and access workers' comp package. Again, with Brown & Brown's assistance, we were able to go out to the market to market the city's general liability program along with our workers' compensation. We are pleased to announce the renewal with some terms through PIDGET, which is the Public Risk Insurance Trust. Overall, there is a rate increase of 8%, which is favorable with the market. HR and risk management will be working over the next year, working on a very large project, which is redoing our programs when it comes to risk management. So we're going to be looking at the accidents, doing investigations, and kind of really getting out there and getting to the root cause of the issues that we're having with our workers' comp and accidents. So it is about an 8% increase, which equals about $80,000, which was budgeted. We budgeted for 10% for the 2026. There are some things that we wanted to mention with PIDGET, which is the Public Risk Insurance Trust. There's an adjusted from 6 million to 5 million, just because of the capacity of the market. And then it's important just to note that the sovereign immunity in Florida still remains at $200,000 per person and $300,000 per occurrence. Right now, we're recommending the renewal through PIDGET for fiscal year 26.
Thank you again. Any questions or comments from council? So let's get a motion on the table for tab 6 for the renewal. Moved by Councilman Davis, seconded by Councilman Cannonball. Do we have any public comment? Any public comment on this matter? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Jones. You can go home and do something more productive than watch us. And we'll move on to tab 11. Will that be Ms. Torsivia? Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Gemma Torsivia. I believe I have met all of you at one point or another. I want to apologize for the briefings I was unable to meet with you, Councilman Cannonball and Councilwoman Avila. But I want to thank you all for taking time to review this. We do have Jim Lang, who's an attorney from Greenberg Traurig, on the line as well. And I'll get through this presentation. It will be brief, and then Jim will be available to ask questions. So Jim Lang and Greenberg Traurig represent both the City of Homestead and Homestead Station Qualic B, which is a component unit of the city and a closely affiliated entity, a special purpose entity that was created for the purposes of facilitating the new market tax credit transaction. So today we're here to discuss unwinding the new market tax credit transaction for Homestead Station. The new market tax credit program is a program that was created by the U.S. Treasury in 2000. The goal of the program is to reinvigorate economically distressed communities by attracting private capital and investors. And in the transaction, there are 3 parties that are relevant for us: an investor, 1 or more community development entities, and 1 or more qualified active low-income community businesses. We call them Qualic Bs, which is an abbreviation for Qualified Low-Income Active Community Business. And this shows the flow of funds, which is the investor at the top, down to the CDE, and down to the Qualic B. And ultimately, the way the program works is that the investor generates 39% of their investment in the form of a tax credit that vests in them over 7 years. And because there's a 7-year period for the vesting, there's a 7-year compliance period for the new market tax credit program. So at the top, we have the investor. And in our case, in this transaction, that investor is Capital One Bank. Then we have the community development entities, and in our case, we have 3 of them. A community development entity is an intermediary, and they take investor capital and transfer it into a business that's qualified for the New Market Tax Credit Program. The investors receive an equity stake in the CDE, and in addition, the CDEs are empowered to give tax breaks to investors in exchange for their investments. The CDEs can make loans and investments to businesses and communities at rates or with flexibility that's not possible in the open market. And then underneath them is the qualified active low-income community business. So in this transaction, before we talk about the Qualic B, there are 3 CDEs. The first one is a CDE affiliated with McCormick, Barrel, Salazar that we refer to as MBS. The second one is a CDE affiliated with Banco Popular, which is a bank that originates in South Florida and Puerto Rico, and their CDE is known as PCC. And then Capital One, who's an investor as well, also has a CDE known as CCRF. So there are the 3 CDEs that are involved in this transaction. Now, under that, you have the Qualified Active Low-Income Community Business, which is a business that's approved through the New Market Tax Credit Program that is located in an economically distressed community. The community has to be distressed at the time of investment. The goal is obviously for the investment to help the community shift from economically distressed to prosperous. Qualic Bs are in a position to improve the economic standing of their community by receiving funds for CDEs that then go into qualified projects. Qualic Bs have a 7-year compliance period with respect to new market tax credits. And at the end of the 7 years, the transaction is unwound and there's a closing. The unwinding involves this Qualic B either ending or taking steps to become independent of the new market tax credits. Homestead Station Qualic B Incorporated is a qualified active low-income community business as defined by the New Market Tax Credit Program when it was created in 2018. It was created in 2018 by this council via Resolution 2018-06-62. Now, I did include that resolution in this agenda item as Exhibit A. The goal was to provide a portion of the funds needed to build the Homestead Station project, and that goal was fulfilled. There was a variety of funding sources that went into Homestead Station, and there was a gap in financing. And the New Market Tax Credit Program is designed as gap financing. It's not intended to be the primary vehicle. It's intended to close the gap. And for this purpose, the funds were expended, and they were successfully expended because Homestead Station was successfully built and operates to this day. Homestead Station Qualic B, it served to facilitate the completion of the project by providing that gap financing through the New Market Tax Credit Program. So as we talked about the 7-year compliance period, it began in 2018, and it is now complete. As a result, the Qualic B will unwind via closing transaction, which was established via contract by the Homestead City Council in 2018. So at the time that the entity was created and the transaction was entered into, the unwind had already been laid out, negotiated among all of the parties, the investors, the CDEs, the Qualic B, and the city, and contracted for. As I said, the transaction and the closing will involve the city, the Qualic B, the 3 CDEs, and the investor Capital One. After the closing, Homestead Station Qualic B Incorporated, which is a true nonprofit, can be dissolved by the board of directors. And at that time, all Qualic B assets will transfer to the city. With that, I do want to flag that I also included a memorandum explaining this in a bit more detail in your packet as the first memorandum, Exhibit 1. And then I included a roadmap that's provided by the Department of Treasury, the CDFI fund, which provides more detail about the New Market Tax Credit Program. With that, I would like, if we could, just bring Jim up, and if there's any additional questions, he is standing by.
All right. Council, any questions? Okay, so the action you're looking for tonight then is an authorization to set the wheels in motion for the dissolution. Is that a fair assessment?
That's an excellent question, Mayor. So the intent is that tonight is a discussion, opportunity for questions to be answered, with the intent of bringing a resolution confirming the city's approval of the closing to the September 24th council meeting. The closing transaction with all of the parties is scheduled for October 2nd. And so the board of Homestead Station Quality will meet. They will also have to approve closing documents. The city will approve closing documents. The attorneys, Matt Pearl and Jim Lang respectively, will hold those documents in trust until the actual closing on October 2nd. And then all the other parties will have executed their closing documents, and they will exchange those documents, and then the closing will commence. So the vote will be on a resolution and the closing documents, which will come to the September 24th council meeting. The closing documents are currently being exchanged among all the attorneys for all the parties. So Matt Pearl and Jim Lang have been on these emails for months and seen all these drafts going back and forth. We did inform them of the timeline and the vote on September 24th. And so the attorneys for the investors and the CDEs have committed to getting us final closing documents by this Friday, so we can circulate them to the attorneys and to you all, so you have an opportunity to review them before the September 24th vote.
Okay. Very good. And just kind of from a high-level view, just because you mentioned it, and I'm somewhat familiar with it, and some of the a couple of council members were here when this was adopted and implemented. Upon the dissolution, there are certain assets coming directly back to the city of Homestead. Just a real quick, high-level description of what those assets are that will, as of the 2nd, then be owned by the city of Homestead.
That's a great question, Mayor. And so what will happen on the 2nd is the new market tax credit transaction will unwind, and the compliance period will be over, and all of the parties in that transaction will no longer be bound to each other under the terms of the transaction. The city manager has requested a final audit of Homestead Station Quality B, which will go until the last day of operation of the entity, which will likely be either October 15th or November 1st. Once that audit is concluded, this item will come back to the council, and you all will need to vote the same way you did in 2018 to approve this and to authorize the entity. You will vote and you will approve a resolution that effectively takes back the assets and forgives a debt. So the city holds a loan that the Qualic B, they've effectively lent the Qualic B $30 million, and the Qualic B holds a $30 million asset of Homestead Station. So before the actual entity, the nonprofit, is dissolved, the city will forgive the loan. The Qualic B will then transfer the $30 million asset to the city. And then whatever funds are remaining in the account of Homestead Station Qualic B, which are estimated between $800,000 and $1 million, will be swept back to the city. And those are funds that will go into the general fund to be spent at the council's discretion.
Maybe those need to go into our infrastructure trust fund. I think that's where hopefully we'll have that discussion at some other time. Questions from Councilman Davis?
I do. I want to make sure that the timing of the audit and the unwinding of the corporate body, that is now taken into consideration the city manager's concerns of timing of these things, correct? Are you satisfied with the timing as stated tonight? Because they were very valid points in our briefing.
No, I don't think sorry, Council Member. I don't know if we do have any control over timing. It is what it is. How long the audit will take, we have to live with it. We asked Gemma to reach out to the auditors, so I'm sure she did, for her to get up to the timing that she's providing tonight. So we expect that the audit will be completed so that we can close the books.
So what would happen in the event that an audit is completed, and the unlikely event, though, that we find something that is somehow off-key? What is our mechanism? Do we own that discretion at that time?
I think the attorney, Mr. Jim Lang, had wanted to opine earlier on. Hey, Jim, can you provide answer and clarity to that question?
I can. It sounds good afternoon or good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So as to there's two different processes here. One is the unwind of the new markets tax credits transaction, and that is mostly formulaic as to the documents that were entered into 7 years ago. There's a put option that is being exercised by Capital One Bank, and we have to respond to the put option, or we're in an awkward position as the city or the Quality as to how they're going to put their interest to us, and we have to agree for the most part to unwind the transaction. And if we don't, then we're in an awkward position as to how we handle those intervening debts. So I think that there's one question as to how do we get this community development entity and the investor out of the transaction as planned 7 years ago, and as works in every one of these tax transactions around the country in a new market tax credit deal. The second question is, I think you have what is called a supporting organization. That's that qualified active low-income community business, which is a tax-exempt entity that supports the city of Homestead and is to some degree controlled by the city of Homestead through board membership. That entity can stay existing after the unwind of the new markets tax credits transaction, and all agreements would be between the city and that entity. Then, as we've heard, there's a request for a closed-down audit of that entity. Whenever that audit can get performed, I would imagine that's a relatively easy audit for the accounting firm to perform, because it's really a date down from, I believe, July until whatever date they're able to issue that audit report. At that point, my recommendation would be to dissolve that entity, have all assets, including the leasehold interest of that entity, contributed back to the city, as it would have been intended to be in any case. And the dissolution provisions of that entity provide that all dissolved assets have to go back to the city of Homestead. That at that point, the city then would own all assets of that entity, including, and importantly, the leasehold interest on the property that was developed and has that leasehold interest. But the timing of the audit, I would suggest that gets done by the end of the year, and I think that's highly reasonable, but I haven't heard from the accountants whether that's feasible for them, but I can't imagine it would not be. The reason for that is I don't think you all want the expense of keeping that entity alive past December 31st of this year.
Does that answer your question, Councilman Davis?
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lang. Okay. Anything further?
Absolutely.
Okay. Real quick. Just, again, the timing is very appropriate. We're in budget. We're looking at reserves and so forth. Talked about that the city loaned the Qualic B $30 million to acquire an asset and be the conduit for the new market tax credit borrowing. The source of that, and again, round numbers, the $30 million was borrowing by the city, or did that come from reserves, general fund? What was the source of the dollars that the city actually loaned to the Qualic B?
If I can, Mayor and Council. It's deemed a loan, but if you recall, we issued a loan for the construction of the PTP. The way that the transaction occurred, that the expenses that we incurred, which was funded by the loan and PTP funds and other sources of funding, was treated for accounting purposes. It was treated as an asset on the Qualic B's books with a note payable to the city, and on the city's books, a note receivable, and in fund balance, an unspendable portion of the fund balance. From an accounting treatment, that's basically what you see if you look at our annual financial statements. It's $30 million. So basically, the bulk of that came from what was funded through the loans, and then the other parts were the investments. The other loans that are sitting that can help to construct that building were the investments that were done through the CDEs. But again, on the books, notes payable and an asset on the Qualic B's books, and on ours, notes receivable and an unfunded portion or unspendable portion of fund balance. That'll all unravel, and basically that will all disappear, and we will retain the asset, which is worth $30 million.
But
And the only thing I will add to that is in the transaction, you'll see a series of what are called B notes in the transaction. And those are all true debt for tax purposes, and they're long-term debt instruments. What this unwind does is that provides that the Qualic B, which again is a supporting entity, supporting organization of the City of Homestead, will not repay those B notes in any of their principal. So when you wind this down and you look at the gross amount of those B notes, that's the benefit for the project from doing the new market tax credits for transactions 7 years ago.
Okay, but I still don't quite understand, is it accurate to say the Qualic B was funded by the city with monies that the city borrowed? Or was this just all dollars on paper? There were a lot of questions at the time out in the public. How was that built? Obviously, we eminent domain and paid real money for the underlying land. So, what I'm getting at, was it real dollars changing hands, or what?
Look, the answer is yes, there was real dollars changing hands. Whether those PTP dollars, what I don't know off the top of my head, and Gemma or someone else might know the answer is I can't remember if those were bonded or whether those PTP dollars were coming out of a reserve account.
And
it was
not to beat a dead horse, but the basic question is was it PTP dollars and again, going back, my initial question was this money was this $30 million or any portion of it money that came out of the reserves of the City of Homestead?
The bond monies, the bonds that we issued were about $27 million, so that's a big part of it.
Okay. So
That's
no,
the biggest
this
part.
was new money, not old money.
No.
Okay.
Certain PTP funds that were on
Yeah.
hand were used, but remember when we got the
But those
5
were
point-
dedicated funds.
Yes, and then when we got the
that's my
5.7 from
question.
the county, we refurbished all the money, some of those monies that were on hand, if you recall that too.
Right.
When they were the TID funds that we received from the county.
Right, okay. Very good. So I guess we've been informed, and we'll deal with this on September 24th. Thank you, Mr. Lang and Ms. Torcivia. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Mayor
good
and
night.
Council. Mr. Manager, thank you.
Okay, so I think we're at the point now where I need a motion to recess this meeting and then a motion to reopen the budget meeting after we do that. So move to recess the committee of the whole meeting. Do we have a second? All in favor? Now a motion to reopen the budget meeting. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right. It's easier than it sounded. Mr. Manager, Mr. Perez? Now, everyone else has promised brevity. You have not. It's all relative, right?
I need to say this. The CRA director provided an 8-minute presentation on $13 million of the budget. I'm doing a $333 million budget in 38 minutes. I think I'll be very efficient.
Okay. I won't argue with it.
Oh, boy.
Hey, did he say 38 minutes?
He did. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can we order some Mamma Mia's or something?
So before we get into the first item on the agenda for the special call, under my privileges, I would like to withdraw card number 4691 on the special call agenda, which is tab 11, titled Repayment Schedule for Underpayment by Homestead Speedway. That item is mute. It has been satisfied, so there's no need for us to continue with the item.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Manager. That was surprising delivery. I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
Worked out. All right. So we've had the roll call, we've had the deletions. Mr. Attorney, read your statement into the record.
Excuse me. The City of Homestead's proposed operating millage rate is 5.9604 mils, which is the same as the previous year's millage rate of 5.9604 mils, and the proposed voted debt millage rate is 0.2446 mils. The rollback millage rate is 5.4129 mils. The proposed operating millage rate of 5.9604 mils is 10.11% above the rollback rate of 5.4129 mils.
Do we set a stopwatch now or no?
The city manager, you don't have any opening remarks? If not, we can get into the...
Well, I thought we were beginning with the millage rate first before getting to
We
the
did,
budget.
yes. Okay.
But
All right, so
do we
tab
want-
1, Mr. Pearl.
Tab 1 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, establishing a proposed operating millage rate of ad valorem taxation and establishing a proposed millage rate for debt service on the general obligation bonds for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026.
Do we have a motion to approve tab 1? Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak on the establishment of the millage rate for the ensuing fiscal year? Okay, I'll close the public hearing then, and we'll ask for a roll call vote adopting the millage rate.
Councilman Cannonball?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Bailey? Councilwoman Avila? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
The motion carried.
And now we'll do the discussion on the budget.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, it's been a busy year for the great city of Homestead. Over the last fiscal year, the city has worked diligently on several critical initiatives. This afternoon, it gives me great pleasure to provide a brief recap of several accomplishments made throughout the last fiscal year. Earlier this year, Council adopted the City of Homestead's first strategic plan. The plan outlines 5 strategic priority areas, and we have aligned those accomplishments in accordance with our strategic priority areas. Within the engagement priority area, Mayor and Council have defined who we are as a city and as a community, with official taglines. For those who don't remember, in Homestead, in the great city of Homestead, the future lives here. The Council and Mayor has also approved a mission statement, a vision statement, and 5 strategic core value areas that the acronym translates into REAL: respect, ethics, accountability, and leadership. We have expanded our media presence. In fact, we have increased our social media impressions by over 7 million unique impressions. Wow. We've launched the city's first digital newsletter, Homestead Insider. On a monthly basis, we share this publication with over 8,000 recipients. Under the leadership of Mayor and Council, we've negotiated successfully a $275 million capital investments for the redevelopment of the Homestead Regional Park. We launched the city's America 250 branding initiative in celebration of this great country's 250th birthday. To improve internal communications and enable staff to access city resources, we've launched an employee hub. To provide a forum for residents and businesses to provide us feedback, we've launched the Conversation with the Community, which includes public meeting series. As part of ongoing charge to make the city a place not only to live but also to play, the city has hosted over 39 special events just this fiscal year. For the first time, with the introduction of 5 constitutional officers by Miami-Dade County. We've enabled most of them to visit with the City of Homestead with periodic programs and events to address our unique challenges as well as provide resources, making them accessible to city residents. On the quality of life front of the strategic priority area, we've secured more than $1.5 million in grant dollars through the Homestead Police Department and also Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces projects. Through the AIPP program, we have completed 5 arts in public places installations, seminar buildings, light feature within the librarium, the water tower, chrome statue, as well as mobile water features. For the first time, the City of Homestead was a recipient of a federally funded SHIP dollars. The city is receiving $374,963. With council approval, we have obligated and approved $854,000 in APA funding to quality of life projects by December of 2024. And we have made $1.8 million project investments towards improving our park systems. And our able and indefatigable police chief and his department has launched a crime suppression team. As we know, infrastructure is a critical priority for the growing City of Homestead. The city was able to secure more than $9.3 million in grant dollars that has been assigned to infrastructure projects. And we're happy to report that on my assumption of office, I made a pledge to Mayor and Council to revitalize and bring back the functionality of the Great Pump Station 22 with an innovative bypass program. And we successfully removed the pump station from absolute moratorium, enabling more than 16 businesses to come back to connection and open doors in the city. In collaboration and coordination with the city's lobbyists, the city was able to secure additional $1.2 million in state appropriations for water main replacements, as well as for the enhancements to Southwest 152nd Avenue Bridge. With council approval, $9.2 million in APA funding was obligated to quality of life projects, meeting the deadline of December 2024 imposed by the federal government. And we've completed $2.4 million in capital projects within Public Works Department, as well as our Energy Department working successfully to getting completed about $3.9 million in capital projects. We've made significant progress in setting up a template in development several critical infrastructure master plans. Council, in the next 1 week, will be having a workshop on the transportation master plan. The consultants are working very hard to complete the water and sewer master plan, as well as the stormwater master plan. These are what we consider foundational documents for enhancements of city infrastructure improvement and to manage growth. In coordination with the Miami-Dade County, we were able to complete the installation of the center gates traffic lights at Alex Muxo, as well as Southwest 152nd Avenue intersection. On the economic development path, we've done extensively well. Flanagan's is coming to Homestead with the development of a new site at the 2.4-acre land at the old City Hall site. We've successfully received an OK status on Pump Station 22, as I previously said, as well as we are working on finalizing a development agreement with the CRA for the Triangle properties with a land swap with the county contractor. I'm happy to report that with the designation of the Greater Homestead region as what we call a Homestead Spaceport designation by the governor, a contractor and aerospace mobile manufacturer is coming to Homestead. They've signed a lease and they're processing permits in order to enhance their build-out area within the Park of Commerce area. And a second contractor and manufacturer is also in talks already with us and the county, looking for locations of more than 20,000 square feet for them to locate to Homestead. These will be bringing in high-paying quality jobs to the City of Homestead. And we've completed a trolley efficiency study, and we're now actively working on optimization of the recommendations. When I joined the City of Homestead about 16 months ago, my commitment to council and mayor and the greater Homestead community was to elevate and professionalize our workforce. I'm proud to report that we continue to make significant strides. And internal operations, we've updated our city ordinances, and we're working on general code issues in terms of bringing it up to date and up to standards. We've revamped the code compliance chapter. We've established minimum education and professional requirements for our city staff. And in a few weeks, we will be launching the city's online permitting, licensing, and code compliance solution. This will be a change in the city homestead in terms of how we do business, in terms of how applicants, developers, and contractors will be able to process their permits. We are going to replace our paper-based application process with a new applicant tracking and recruitment platform. We've launched with happiness and great pride the Homestead Community Development and Human Services Division and implemented social services initiatives for our residents. This past Saturday, on September 6th, the city hosted its first ever health and wellness fair, which was successful, received accolades from many of the folks who visited us at Fico Williams Park, and we also have revamped the city's Homestead Cares program. Again, we've made life easier for city residents. Now you can come to City Hall or any of our activation centers if you have need to review, revise, update, renew, or obtain brand new driver's licenses with the FLOW program. The City Clerk's office has been designated as a passport office based on work that the City Manager's office has accomplished during this past 1 year, and also to establish standard operating procedures. We've initiated administrative policies and procedures development process. We will continue to work in this stead. We have launched a new GIS application portal that comprises a strategic plan display online for those who don't want hard copies. Now, folks in Homestead can access the city website for City Council iterative map. If you go there, select council member name, it will show you the boundaries of the district, the code enforcement officer assigned to that district, and additional information. You don't have to make phone calls to get those information. Now you can simply get them online. And also we have Parks and Recreation System Map Viewer, the HPS Energy Outage Map. If there's no light, if there's any outage in your area, you can go online using your cell phone and know what the area coverage of the outage is and the homes that are involved. And the City of Homestead compliance zones and assigned officers are usually updated as changes are made, and we are working on zoning and land use map as well as the solid waste schedule. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for giving us the privilege and the support that we need in working with you in getting some of these initiatives off the ground. I am going to pause while I'm asked my friend and colleague, Mr. Carlos Perez, the Finance and Budget Director, to give us a synopsis on a high level of the city's proposed budget for fiscal year 26. Mr. Director, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and residents of the City of Homestead. Tonight's presentation will provide an overview of the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget, as well as the proposed millage rate used to develop the general fund's proposed budget. In preparing the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget, the city faced several key challenges that shaped our priorities. Capital improvement projects. Addressing long overdue projects to strengthen stormwater, electric, water, sewer, and public facilities. The focus is on resiliency, fiscal discipline, and transparent reporting to build community trust. Economic mobility and downtown revitalization. Driving targeted investment in business growth in downtown Homestead while aligning with regional strategies. Expanding tourism offerings such as cultural arts, seasonal events, and Discover Homestead to boost the local economy. Rebranding and marketing, launching a citywide campaign that reflects Homestead's authentic identity, balancing small-town charm with a modern, forward-looking brand that attracts residents, businesses, investors, and visitors. Operational and staffing needs, managing rising costs by leveraging grants, partnerships, and innovative funding, investing in staff resources and professional development to foster collaboration, innovation, and a culture of service excellence. This proposed budget represents a balanced approach to meeting citywide operational needs, achieved without raising the millage rate through the collective efforts of staff and council. The presentation will focus on the following areas of the budget: the general fund overview, analysis of the general fund's fund balance, listing of proposed signature special events, citywide overview, citywide CIP projects overview, staffing enhancements, proposed millage rate, and a recap. Now let's look at the general fund budget overview. Property taxes for the city are a result of two components: property values and the millage rate, also referred to as the tax rate. Property values are assessed by the county, not the city. The Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser's Office is responsible for assessing property values. The city assesses the millage rate, which represents the amount to be paid for every $1,000 of a property's taxable assessed value. It is important to note that the operating millage only impacts the revenues of the general fund and the CRA. Property values increased 13.2% over the prior year's revised property values of $5.64 billion. For fiscal year 2026, staff is recommending maintaining the millage rate at 5.9604. At current values of $6.38 billion, this represents an increase of $3,841,584 in additional property tax revenues for the city. If you recall last year, Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser's Office provided the city with certified values on July 1st of 2024. Then on July 18th, one day after we had approved the proposed millage rate, we were advised that they had made an error in the values. The city adopted a budget that included approximately $2.4 million in unspendable tax revenues, offset with an equal amount in contingency. Then in October of 2024, when the Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser's Office certified the revised values, we came before council to amend the budget down for the $2.4 million. This is an overview of the general fund's sources of revenues. Much of the discussion regarding the general fund's budget involves property taxes, also known as ad valorem taxes, which makes up just over 36%, or $32.4 million, of the funding sources for the proposed budget. The state-shared revenues make up approximately 18% of the general fund's revenues. State-shared revenues include municipal revenue sharing of $5.1 million, community service tax includes $1.9 million, and the half-cent sales tax makes up $8.6 million. Combined, these account for $15.7 million. These are estimates provided by the state. Franchise fees includes $1.7 million in franchise fees being generated from the FP&L serviced areas of the city. Cost allocation to pilots, also referred to as intergovernmental charges, are funds paid to the city primarily from the 5 enterprise funds for use of city services as a cost of doing business within the city. Together, these make up approximately 22% of the general fund's revenues. Fines and forfeitures, while only representing 2.3% of the general fund's revenue, does include $1.7 million in expected school zone speed violations, also referred to as red speed. Other taxes representing 6% of the total funding sources include $1.3 million in local option gas tax, referred to as LOGT, which is used for streets, $1.9 million in pension pass-through for insurance tax premiums collected and remitted to the police and firefighters' pensions, and $1.9 million in utility service taxes. Other revenues represent just under 5% of the general fund's revenues, and these includes rents, leases, and interest income on investments. In fiscal year 2026, the appropriation of fund balance represents 6.26%, representing one-time funding for several transfers out to other funds, as will be explained in upcoming slides. The following revenue sources are not included in this proposal: solid waste franchise fees, increased street permit revenues, National League of Cities Service Warranty Program revenues, and the Sports Complex VSGS Year 1 lease payment of approximately $200,000, as these are uncertain revenues. Additionally, the city recently received $442,000 from the Speedway for previous underpayments. Rather than appropriating these funds in the fiscal year 2026 budget, these will be used to replenish the fund balance. Here's an overview of the general fund's budget by functions. Public safety represents just over 46% of the city's general fund budget. Parks, recreation, and open spaces makes up 8.8%, while planning and zoning and public works comprise 3% and 2.8% respectively. Code compliance represents 2.5% of the general fund's budget. The rest of the departments are general government, making up 29.9% of the budget. Transfers to other funds at 6.8% for fiscal year 2026 include $400,000 portion of the debt service for the PTP bonds of the Multimodal Transit Center project, $1 million transfer to the electric utility to give back some of the monies they contributed as budget stabilization funds to balance the general fund budget between fiscal year 2012 and fiscal year 2017. $3.2 million to the CIP fund, $2.8 million of this for general fund department CIP requests, and $400,000 as a grant match for the historic City Hall. And finally, $1.378 million to the Building Service Fund. Upon becoming a new enterprise fund, we recognize that in 2024, permit revenues exceeded departmental expenditures. After estimating indirect costs of the general fund, it was determined to transfer this amount to the Building Services Fund to help them set up their initial costs, such as capital. Please note that the police budget is at $40.8 million, while property taxes, without the library portion, are only at approximately $30.8 million. Therefore, property taxes only cover 75% of the police budget. This slide provides a side-by-side comparison of each general fund department's prior year adopted to current year proposed budget. Note that the building services has moved out of the general fund and into a new enterprise fund, while innovation and technology department has been moved out as an internal service fund. As stated earlier, in fiscal year 2025, upon being informed by the county of the issues with the property values, staff made sure that the $2.4 million was deemed non-spendable in the fiscal year 2025 adopted budget. In October of 2024, when the county revised the certified values, staff brought forward a budget amendment to reduce the fiscal year 2025 budget. Comparing the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget to the amended fiscal year 2025 budget, the increase is $12,658,236. The significant and notable changes in the general fund expenditure budget are as follows. Across all departments, we have $2.5 million investment in new staffing. Later in the presentation, we provide the detail of the new positions, which includes 23 new full-time positions and 3 part-time positions for the general fund. $1.9 million increases in existing personnel costs for a 7% COLA to all employees. $419,000 increase to existing personnel costs for a change in pension plans by moving to the FRS in mid-year fiscal year 2026. $2.7 million increase for the net cost allocation from the new Innovation and Technology Internal Service Fund. $1.8 million reduction in the budget for the Innovation and Technology Department moving out of the general fund, and $2.5 million reduction in the budget for the Building Services Department moving out of the general fund. For the city clerk, $350,000 increase for the elections, estimated $144,000 for the primary election and $206,000 for the general special election. For the mayor and council, $10,000 increase to the mayor's youth council, $5,000 increase to the community relations board, $5,000 increase to SWAC, and $80,000 increase to the mayor and council's public relations accounts. For public works, we have $50,000 for construction software, $10,000 for GIS software. For general administration, $236,000 for new EOC division, including a mid-year staff addition. $120,000 in mass media marketing of a winter wonderland as part of the Holiday and Homestead special event. $10,000 for a VA hospital groundbreaking. $60,000 for City Hall semi-quincentennial branding. $80,000 in advisory services for affordable housing, home, and SHIP. $20,000 for a community health fair and a small business summit. $20,000 for a medical facility project, and $434,000 reduction in administrative fees having to do with the new market tax credit exit. For general services, $11,000 reduction for expected Seminole Theater management fee, $53,000 for additional supplies and repairs at Seminole Theater, $31,000 for additional repairs at Ciberium, $43,000 increase in the LSNS management contract at the Cyberarium, $200,000 increase in janitorial contracts, $242,000 increase in building repairs, including inspections and assessments of facilities, $425,000 increase in maintenance contracts, $53,000 increase cost for historical museum. For parks, recreation, and open spaces, $551,000 for enhanced lawn care grounds maintenance, and $50,000 for sidewalk repairs. For the police department, $408,000 for the body camera contract, which no longer has grant funding, $210,000 for the shot spotter, which no longer has grant funding, $156,000 for records management system. For code compliance, $13,000 for increased costs for the special magistrate, interpreters, and lien recording, $25,000 for 6 cameras for illegal dumping, and $33,000 for the body camera contract for code officers. For procurement, $28,000 for increased professional services needed for year-end inventory, $61,000 for increased advertisement costs, as they will not be responsible for all ads related to procurement services, RFPs, ITBs, etc. For finance and budget, $95,000 for a financial statement prep software to prepare the annual comprehensive financial report, $35,000 for services to digitize financial records, and $36,000 for services to create a robust CIP book through OpenGov. For human services, $33,000 in enhancement to existing employee special events and some new ones, including the International Women's Week for $5,000 and Public Service Week for $10,000. $40,000 for increased citywide training and $32,000 for increased drug testing and background screening. Special events. New events include $10,000 for Art Walk as part of Art Basel, $100,000 for the NASCAR 30-year anniversary and championship race, $391,000 for the operation of the ice skating rink for the Holiday Inn Homestead's Winter Wonderland theme. Increases to existing events include $130,000 enhancements to the Race to the Fourth for the 250th celebration of our nation's independence, $39,000 for other events. On a separate slide, we will provide a listing of all signature special events showing fiscal year 2025 funded levels, amounts proposed at the budget workshop, and proposed changes for this hearing. Transfers. The most significant change or increase in the fiscal year 2026 budget is $5.75 million in transfers out to other funds that were discussed in an earlier slide. These increases include $1 million to the electric utility, $2.8 million and $406,000 to the CIP fund for new general fund department CIPs and for a grant match, respectively, and $1.3 million for the building services fund. Other. Finally, there is an increase in contingency of $446,000, primarily to offset the red speed violation revenues, since these may be delayed in being recognized and are not expected to be recurring at the initial year's level. Other net reductions across all departments of $352,000 account for the $12.6 million change in the budget for the general fund. Comparing the proposed fiscal year 2026 general fund budget to the fiscal year 2025 amended budget, there is an increase of $12.6 million. This increase is covered by an increase in funding sources of the same amount. The increased revenues are primarily due to increases in certain major revenue and funding sources shown on the slide. Property tax is the city's main source of revenues, and increased property values and new construction at existing millage rate will generate $3.8 million in additional revenues for the city. One significant revenue source for fiscal year 2026 is $1.7 million in expected school zone speed violations, also known as red speed. Because this may be delayed in implementation and because this level of fines may not be recurring, we have offset this with an increase of $446,000 to contingencies. Conversely, a significant reduction in revenues is a reduction of $2 million for permit fees. This is a source of revenue for building services, which is being reported as a new and separate enterprise fund in the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. The most significant funding source for fiscal year 2026 is $5.4 million in appropriation of fund balance, which is explained in an earlier slide. This is being used to cover $5.75 million in one-time type of expenditures or transfers to other funds. Because of the $5.4 million use of fund balance for one-time type expenditures and transfers, it is important to discuss the general fund's fund balance as part of this budget process. To that end, the next 3 slides are dedicated to the general fund's fund balance. This slide reminds us that pursuant to City Ordinance 2004-09-36, the city requires a required fund balance reserve of 10% of the general fund's adopted budget. For fiscal year 2025, that reserve requirement is $7,793,655. For fiscal year 2026, based on a proposed budget of $88.2 million, the reserve requirement will be $8,822,252, an increase of $1,028,597. The Government Finance Officers Association, also known as the GFOA, has issued a best practice guideline of fund balances for the general fund. The GFOA recommends that municipalities maintain unrestricted fund balance of no less than 2 months of operations. This translates to 17% of the general fund's budget. The recommendation goes on to explain that these reserves should be prohibited as a funding source for ongoing recurring expenditures, but that use for one-time non-recurring items like capital would be appropriate. At September 30th, 2024, per our audited financial statements, the general fund had a $38 million unrestricted fund balance. This included 10% required reserve of $6.9 million for fiscal year 2024. In addition to the $111,000 used to fund the initial year of the home fund, the city used $2.6 million of fund balance to fund $945,000 in PO rollovers, $1.1 million for the title enterprise, permitting and licensing software, and $500,000 for the ice rink purchase. All these were done through council-approved budget amendments. The ordinances are noted on this slide. In fiscal year 2026 budget, we are proposing the use of $5.5 million for one-time expenditure transfers as discussed earlier. Assuming the proposed budget is approved, the projected unrestricted fund balance for 9/30/2025 is $30.5 million, which represents 35% of the fiscal year 26 proposed budget. This is twice the amount recommended by GFOA. One of the items being funded through the use of general fund's fund balance is approximately $2.7 million in transfers to the CIP fund to fund capital requests from various general fund departments. The next 2 slides identifies these capital needs and the requesting department. To summarize, this includes 1 new vehicle for the Planning and Zoning Department for the new zoning inspector position, 1 pallet jack for the Procurement Department's inventory warehouse, $100,000 in improvements to create a training room for employees requested by the city manager. For general services, the requests include facilities improvements of $198,000 for work at the police station, $28,000 for a conversion of storage area for expanded offices for the Finance and Budget Department, $38,000 for the refurbishment of the Seminole Theater marquee, $35,000 for seating at the Cyberia. Equipment and vehicular needs totaling $293,000 includes the purchase of 3 facility maintenance vehicles, the purchase of a lift for the use at City Hall chambers, and a fence painting machine. Police equipment and vehicle capital needs include $1.1 million for 6 vehicle replacements, including 5 Explorers and 1 Tahoe, replacement of 5 ATVs, replacement of 12 Rapid IDs, and the RMS CAD system replacement. For code, we have the replacement of 2 vehicles. For parks, recreation, and open spaces, CIPs include the replacement of 2 vehicles, the replacement of 4 riding lawnmowers, restroom refinishing at Whitcock Park, a restroom conversion to storage at Harris Field, lights at JD Red tennis and racquetball courts, a picnic shelter replacement at Angelo Mistretta Park, pavilion improvements at Harris Field, and court resurfacing and playground refurbishment at Ruby George Park. Total CIPs requested by general fund departments total $2.7 million and are funded through a transfer from the general fund. These are just the CIPs for the general fund departments. In a later slide, we will see an overview of all CIPs funded for fiscal year 2026. This slide shows the budget for the city's signature special events. For fiscal year 2026, all signature special events have been moved into a new special events division of the General Administration Department. The table reflects 3 new requests for fiscal year 2026. These include the ice skating rink operations for the Holiday Inn Homestead's Winter Wonderland, the Art Walk in connection with Art Basel, and the NASCAR 30-year anniversary and championship race. The race to the 4th event is being enhanced for the 250th celebration of America's independence. There are some adjustments to other events, both in dollars and names, with all special events totaling $1,196,000 for fiscal year 2026. We have seen an overview of the general fund. Now let's look at an overview of the entire citywide budget. This pie chart reflects the components of the enterprise funds. These funds are intended to be self-sufficient and rely on user fees to balance their budgets. The electric utility makes over 59% of the enterprise funds. For fiscal year 2026, the solid waste budget has been balanced with a rate increase of 4.88%, representing the CPI increase. For 2026, water and sewer budget has been balanced with a proposed rate increase of 8% in lieu of the annual CPI. The proposed rate increases also include 2.81% increase on water consumption and 13% increase on the sewer consumption, representing the Miami-Dade County pass-through rate increases for the purchase of water and the treatment of sewer. These will be a separate core item for council consideration at tonight's budget hearing pursuant to state statutes. The electric utility reflects a reappropriation of $6.6 million of remaining FMPA loan proceeds for 3 capital projects to be completed in fiscal year 2026. In fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022, the electric utility secured loans in excess of $12 million to invest in capital projects to improve the capacity, resiliency, and redundancy in Homestead's electric grid. In fiscal year 2024, the city secured an additional bank loan for $5.1 million for the new substation project. These projects are currently underway and will provide the capacity to serve future projected electrical demand growth, as well as hardening the electrical grid to better withstand the effects of severe weather. For fiscal year 2026, the stormwater utility budget has been balanced with a rate increase of 78%, which was approved by council earlier this year. The additional revenues will provide funding to address capital infrastructure needs to be identified upon the completion of the stormwater survey and master plans. For fiscal year 2026, building services was moved out of the general fund and created into a new enterprise fund that is expected to be self-sufficient using permit fees as its primary funding source. Their budget increased approximately $1.9 million as a result of new staffing, capital needs, and a cost allocation back to the general fund. Electric Utility Debt Service Fund reports the debt service for electric utility loans, while the Utilities Replacement, Renewal, and Improvements Fund reflects a transfer of $1.5 million to fund CIPs in the electric utility. This pie chart shows the citywide budget broken down by fund types. The general fund makes up just over 26% of the city's budget, while the enterprise funds make up 50.3% of the budget. Please remember that this proposed budget excludes CDBG, home, and other grants, as those budgets are approved by resolution upon acceptance of the grants. Additionally, excluded is the ARPA funding that is also being treated as a grant. As of December 31st, 2024, all ARPA funds had been committed to projects, and all funds must be expended by December 31st of 2026. I would like to point out that unused funds for certain capital-related projects will be brought forth to the council for reappropriation and amendment of the fiscal year 2026 budget at the November 2025 council meeting. The most notable significant highlights of the citywide budget are reflected in this slide. $36 million for capital improvement projects, $3.3 million in employee COLAs, $861,000 for a mid-year transition to the FRS, $4.8 million in new personnel costs, $7.2 million in new fund allocations from the Innovation and Technology Internal Service Fund, $2.4 million in increases to all other internal service funds, $406,000 transfer to CIP for a grant match, $1.3 million transfer to the Building Service Fund, $350,000 for the elections, and $643,000 in enhanced and new special events. This slide reflects a comparison of the citywide fiscal year 2025 adopted budget with the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. The general fund as well as the enterprise funds have been discussed in earlier slides. The Capital Improvement Fund, also known as the CIP Fund, accounts for all general fund departmental CIP requests, which were presented on slides 19 and 20. Notable highlights for the remaining funds are as follows. For the CRA Fund, reflects higher TIF revenues from rising property values. Fiscal year 2026 TIF is budgeted at $6.6 million. 2.9 million of this from the Miami-Dade County and $3.7 million from the city, plus $6.6 million from prior year fund balance. A detailed CRA budget presentation was provided to you earlier tonight. For the PTP fund, it includes $4.9 million in fiscal year 2026 transportation surtax revenues and $2.6 million in reappropriated prior year funds. For the impact fee fund, this reflects projected 2026 revenues of $2.3 million and $9.24 million in reappropriated funds. Funding supports CIP projects, some of which are set aside as contingency. The Innovation and Technology Department, it's now reported as an internal service fund to centralize services, streamline operations, and improve efficiency and cost savings over time. Fiscal year 2026 increases include IT-related cost transfers from other departments, new staffing, capital needs, and new initiatives. Other internal service funds include the health insurance, self-insurance, workers' compensation, customer service, and fleet management funds. Despite some premium reductions, overall increases to all funds reflect operational needs, staffing, and capital. We have looked at an overview of the citywide budget. Now let's take a look at the citywide CIP projects for fiscal year 2026. These following slides present a recap of the city's capital improvement projects. These are projects that required funding in fiscal year 2026. It does not include projects previously funded in a prior year. For water and sewer projects include $10.3 million for two projects expected to be funded with a loan. The two projects include water and sewer improvements on Chrome Avenue and Flagler Avenue. Additional funding for these projects includes $625,000 in state appropriations and $3.7 million from a PFAS settlement received in 2025. The total cost for these projects are estimated at $6.8 million for Flagler and $13.1 million for Chrome. During fiscal year 2025, over $2 million in funding for these projects came from ARPA and the CRA. The $6.9 million in electric utility projects include $930,000 annual recurring projects, along with another $5.9 million for 26 other capital projects. These projects include $2 million for electrical infrastructure for new construction, $506,000 for AMI meters for new development, and $500,000 for the Redland substation expansion. During the year, the utility will be working on three significant projects funded with loans. These projects include the new Donny Avocado substation, the FP&L interconnect, and the undergrounding of the northwest area. $6.6 million in appropriated fund balance representing loan funds to be expended on two of these projects are included in the fiscal year 2026 budget. CRA projects include the Triangle Redevelopment Project, Chrome Marketplace improvements, a pocket park, and funding for land acquisitions. Equipment, software, and improvements for various departments include $782,000 for planning and zoning, general services, procurement, and the city manager, as already presented on slide 19. $215,000 for new vehicles for new positions for building services, $138,000 for 3 pooled vehicles for fleet management, $107,000 for 3 vehicles for customer service, and $1.4 million for innovation and technology. The $1.4 million includes Phase 2 of the citywide computer and network switch replacements, completing upgrades to the council chamber AV systems, and upgrades to the citywide camera surveillance system. Transportation and transit equipment and streets and sidewalk improvements include projects funded primarily with LOGT and PTP funds. In addition to $958,000 in annual recurring projects, there are 5 other roadway improvement projects at different locations. Police Department includes $611,000 for new police vehicles funded with police impact fees. The new vehicles are for the new 8 police officers proposed to be hired in fiscal year 2026. Forfeiture monies of $86,000 are being used to fund ice machines, new furniture, and a replacement canine dog. Other CIPs include $1.1 million for vehicles and equipment already presented on slide 19. Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Department has $360,000 in projects funded through Parks Impact Fees, which include new pickleball courts at the community center and pavilion improvements at Harris Field. An additional $50,000 is CDBG funding is allocated specifically for the pavilion improvements. Separately, $778,000 for equipment and other improvements was already presented on slide 19. The solid waste fund includes $500,000 for building renovations, $57,000 for office furniture, and $171,000 for the annual container replacements. The stormwater fund includes $507,000 for a stormwater survey and master plan, and $250,000 for a drainage improvement project on Southwest 157th Avenue. Annual stormwater projects include $75,000. $575,000 has been appropriated from art and public places fees for several murals, sculptures, and other proposed artwork. Total CIP project values for 2026 are $36,146,665, with over $2.1 million representing recurring annual projects. Over $3 million of these projects funded with a settlement, $675,000 funded with CDBG or other assistance, and $10.6 million expected to be financed through a loan. A detailed listing of the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement projects, as well as the fiscal year 2026-2030 5-year CIP plan, can be found at the end of your budget books. These next few slides will identify the investment the city is making in new staffing and conversion of some contract temp positions to full-time positions. All these staffing changes are intended to help bring about the initiatives and goals of the city. Proposed staffing enhancements for the general fund include for the city clerk, 1 full-time and 1 part-time administrative secretary to handle passport applications as part of the passport facility initiative. For code compliance, 1 code compliance officer for field inspections and enforcement. For the finance and budget department, 1 budget analyst 2 to support growing budget and capital planning. For procurement and contract, 1 assistant director for leadership support and succession planning, and converting 1 temp administrative buyer assistant to full-time for vendor processing. Parks, recreation, and open spaces, 3 part-time recreational leaders for the new after-school programs at Dickinson Community Center. For development services, planning and zoning, 1 zoning inspector to review building plans, and 1 planner 2 for long-range and current planning. Additional staffing enhancements for the general fund include, for general services, 1 building maintenance worker 1 for maintenance across city facilities. For public works engineering, 2 professional engineers to manage infrastructure projects, 1 right-of-way inspector for permit compliance. These positions are funded 80% from the general fund, 10% from PTP, and 10% from stormwater. For the police department, 8 sworn police officers for public safety and response times, 2 victim advocates to support victims and comply with legal requirements, 1 financial analyst investigator for HOA detective unit integrity, 1 administrative coordinator for grants to manage funding, compliance, and staff support. Staffing changes to other departments outside the general fund include, for solid waste, 1 assistant director to manage operations and planning, converting 1 administrative assistant temp to a full-time for clerical support. Electric utility, 1 construction inspector 3 for energy project oversight, 1 senior plant mechanic for power plant maintenance, 1 load dispatcher for electricity production and coordination. For the water and sewer utility, 1 meter specialist to bridge the gap between customer service and water and sewer for all meter orders. 1 maintenance mechanic 2 for wastewater needed due to increased growth, and 3 maintenance mechanics 1, 2 for wastewater and 1 for water needed due to increased growth. Staffing for the newly created building services enterprise funds include the conversion of 5 professional service roles to full-time positions. This covers building, plumbing, mechanical, roofing, and electrical inspectors. 1 building services supervisor for permits and fee processing, and 1 GIS specialist for mapping and data management. This cost would be shared with planning and zoning. New staffing for the internal service funds are as follows. For the Innovation and Technology Department, 1 IT systems analyst to manage citywide applications, 1 IT specialist for user support, 1 IT intern for entry-level tech, support, and training. For customer service, the conversion of 3 temporary customer service clerks to full-time and 1 meter service man for readings and service connections. To recap, the city is increasing its total staff by 46 full-time positions and 5 part-time positions. After this presentation, the first item to be discussed is the proposed millage rate for the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. It is important to note that the millage rate only impacts the general fund and the CRA. At this time, let's take a look at the proposed millage rate. This slide provides general information about the millage rates. By Florida law, the maximum allowable rate for the operating millage is 10 mils. The tentatively established millage rate reflected in the property owner's trim notices is 5.9604. The city's current fiscal year 2025 millage rate is 5.9604. Most of you received your trim notices showing the city's tax rate as 5.9604. At this time, staff recommends maintaining the millage rate at 5.9604, which is what this proposed budget is based on. Here is the millage rate history, showing the several recent reductions in the millage rate between fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2025. So let's recap. Council action required at this hearing includes adoption by resolution of the operating millage of 5.9604 and a debt millage rate of 0.2446. Adoption by ordinance of the proposed budget and the CIP plan. Approval by ordinance of a water and sewer rate increase of 8%, which is in lieu of the CPI rate adjustment, and the Miami-Dade County WASA pass-through rate increases of 2.81% on water consumption and 13% on sewer usage. The final budget hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 24th at 5:01 p.m. At this time, staff would like to thank the mayor and council for their valuable input, clear guidance, and full support throughout this year's budget process. In conclusion, I will now turn it over to the city manager for his final remarks. Immediately following the city manager's final remarks, we will move forward with the hearing in the order outlined in tonight's agenda, with the discussion of the millage rate being the first order of business.
I didn't know you were a ventriloquist. Never saw your lips move during the entire presentation. So, Mr. Attorney, are there some other items that we need to adopt prior to passing?
Well, we've taken the
on
vote.
first read? Well, we've done the millage rate.
We've taken the vote
but
on
there are
on
other
the
fee
millage rate.
increases that are built into
That
this
are
budget.
They are based on the budget, but historically, what's required is that you adopt the millage rate before the budget.
Okay.
If there are adjustments.
We've done that.
Okay. So I can read the title of the budget ordinance into the record for first reading. Then we can take each of the second readings after that, if that's okay with you.
That's got to be tab 2.
Yes.
Right?
So tab 2 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, adopting the budget for each of the several funds and departments of the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, approving capital improvement plan, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you. All right. Council? Any questions, comments on the presentation? Let me jump out there first, and maybe we can, create some discussion items. Clearly, we are now certain there will not be a primary election this year. That was built into that 350,000 was about 115 or 150. I've conferred with the manager during the presentation, and I think it would be incumbent upon us to earmark that for Pump Station 11 purposes. But at second reading, that will be allocated there. It also occurred, and we don't necessarily need an answer tonight, but come back with the advisability of going ahead, and I'll call it found money That rent payment, which was for prior years, was money we didn't know we were missing. Go ahead and allocate that $443,000 and some dollars, upon recommendation of the manager, to Pump Station 11 as well, in addition to the proposed Qualic B money that will be coming in, so that we'll have that beginning nest egg. That would just be, and those are things that we can, staff can massage and bring back on second reading of the budget. Beyond that?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
I
Manager.
think earlier on we mentioned about the Homestead Life.
Right,
Also
the $500,000 for Homestead
to
Live,
put it
yes.
into us Pump Station 11 as well.
Right. So that's almost a couple $1 million tonight toward Pump Station 11. We've got the Qualic B, Homestead Live, the cost of the primary election.
The
Speedway
And
payment.
the Speedway for prior years, not current year,
Back pay.
but the prior year that we, just to allocate that funding. Who'd like to kick off? Sure. Yes, on the budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to our Finance Department. I can only imagine how many takes you had to do to get it right that one time. This budget funds so many needs in our city. As many of you are aware, our police department, our parks and rec, our process with development services have continued to be at the top of our priority list. Everything in the budget is a priority, but those obviously remain number one, 2, and 3 for me. And this budget meets those needs, and with a flat rate. So one question that I needed some clarification on with regards to the fund balance. We are using some fund balance to be able to fund this budget, correct?
That is correct, but the items that we're funding from the fund balance are predominantly for either capital needs or what we're deeming as one-time, non-recurring items.
Very good. So that there's no reason to have a concern over any gap in a future budget as a result of that, correct?
That's the objective.
Great, thank you very much. With regards to my district, District 5, there is a holiday tree lighting ceremony in Waterstone that we have historically, at least the last couple of years, funded. I don't necessarily think we need to have it as a line item in here, but I just want to make sure that we can continue to support providing the resources of the trash cans from solid waste and the lights from either Parks or PD for that to continue to be made available for the holiday lighting in Waterstone. And if it does have to be somewhere on a line item, then this is, I guess, the right time to bring it up.
Yes, I guess we could go back and determine historically what the cost of that was, and whether it be in parks or special events or whatever it may be.
Thank you. And if perhaps it's already been considered, and we can get that confirmation tonight.
All right. Well, and let me add to your, I think it's correct to say that to your concern about the fund balance, that the fund balance reflected here as twice what the recommendation is after those payments, not before those payments. So even after providing for those mostly capital items, we are still in very healthy shape.
Councilwoman Avila, based on our last year's approach, I believe the parks-related items were donations subject to a hold harmless agreement release, and the community or the HOA compensated for the solid waste-related items. So the intent is to follow a similar path this year.
So to clarify, you believe there was funds that were exchanged from the association to the city for the for some of those resources?
For the solid waste component, yes.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but maybe between now and second reading, we can get some additional clarification if you can make sure we work on that, Manager. Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking that, from some of our discretionary accounts, I think I have provided assistance. And that may be some of the
Thank you. We'll clarify that. But overall, I mean, I want to hear everything you guys have found, especially our vice mayor. You always find something in there. But thank you very much for making sure all the departments have been augmented to really take care and handle some of our needs. Another item that has been a constant issue for us has been the aesthetic of our city, weeds and grass and mulching and things like that. Can we talk a little bit about how we can see that changing in the future?
Is there an addition of over $500,000 for enhanced landscaping?
I was
maintenance?
going to get to that. We're actually in the middle of procurement. I don't know if we're allowed to, Madam Procurement Director. We're okay to get into details on the negotiation for the replacement contract for landscape improvements citywide. On a high level, there is an enhancement. The proposal on the table today is simply to create a pool instead of having one vendor, and also to create an enhancement. Currently, it's about what? Carlos, how much is the current contract?
I think it's $650, $680, and I know
Less than $700,000. So the current budget is taking it over $1 million. I think $1.5 million or 6.
1.2.
1.2. So we doubled the actual allocation for that.
Mr. Manager, if I can, and to respond to what you're saying is, even though we went out and did a best offer and we got quotes back, we may still be a little bit shy. So I'm wondering if maybe some of these monies that we just identified, instead of to Pump Station 11.
Hang on, Carlos. I don't want to get into too much details on a pending negotiation, okay, for the contracts. Between first and second reading, let's work on all this.
We'll make those recommendations.
Yeah, let's make the recommendation.
Very well, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. We can look forward to enhanced landscaping. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm sure anybody who listened to that entire presentation sees how much goes into it. And of course, Carlos, amazing job as usual. And for each department, just really looking at what the big needs are. It's just always so exciting to see this and know that we've got all these great things hopefully coming this year. I just wanted to touch on a couple little things. I know that I have a few requests, but on the same note as the event, I know we can't list all the little events that we do, so I would like to withdraw the request for the Haitian Heritage event. I've asked many questions about the special events, miscellaneous piece. It's a hefty amount also. So just for us to make sure, Main Street had Fiesta USA, which was more of a Hispanic heritage. Of course, it's really important for us to continue those things. So we can make sure that that happens under that line item. As far as the requests for increasing the budgets in some of these committees, I just wanted to give a quick little thing, and if anybody has any more specific questions, obviously I'm happy to explain why. For Mayor's Youth Council, for example, I was able to chaperone one of their trips to DC, two of their trips, DC and New York. And we've had plenty of conversations before how important it is to expose our youth to new opportunities, to new places. So if there is an opportunity to increase this budget, we'd be able to help more kids be able to do this with allowing those extra chaperones to go and help. Again, any specific questions, I'm happy to help. Councilman Roth here, I think, is doing an amazing job with these kids. It's a really neat committee. I thank everybody again for allowing me to be the liaison for the Community Relations Board. I think it was an incredibly successful first year, even though it was very slow getting started. We have some really great board members. Pastor Looney and our chairman Williams were just here. They made it through almost all of the pre-recorded message. But they're on their way to Florida City to listen to their budget meeting. So just to have that, that opportunity to bridge some of the gaps between Homestead and Florida City is, I think, a very important thing for all of us. And lastly is Southwest Advisory Committee, which you guys have heard me speak more than enough on. One of my favorite initiatives that the board has helped start is our closet. If you look next to our assistant Jasmine's office, there is a pantry that has not only school supplies, which are not just needed the first day of school. Paper runs out very soon, pencils break, crayons break. To be able to have these supplies to help schools throughout the year, it was an easy way for SWAC to do it because there's very few schools in the Southwest area. So what we've done is we have worked with the schools to start these closets, these pantries, where teachers can grab essentials for students without asking too many questions. So, very long story short, please stop by that closet, have a look. It's not just school supplies, it's feminine products, it's ponchos for kids who have to walk to school in the rain, etc. So that is all for SWAC. And just very lastly, if anybody has any money left in their budget, I especially encourage you to have a look in that closet and help us keep it nicely furnished. The goal with CRB now is to grow the amount of schools that we're helping and just give our students a hand up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Carlos, I didn't see your lips moving either. Like, the person I hired to read your lips just called me and said, hey, you didn't get nothing out of him. Can you repeat the whole thing? I said, no, it ain't gonna happen. But a great presentation. And I like the fact that we're spending more and more on quality of life issues and giving back some of the monies that we collect in taxes to our residents. The one thing, I got a couple things, but let me take the most serious one first. Is I saw that the Halloween event was taken off and replaced with a fall festival. And I think, you know, that was something that I think even we look forward to. We dressed up, we go out there, we have fun with the community. But I don't think there's any other Halloween events anywhere near here that our residents can partake in. So maybe there's a way we can come up with 2 events. And I will tax staff on that we come up with a fall event as well, because I love the pumpkin patch things, I love the hay rides and those things, but I think if we remove the Halloween event, which with the haunted house that we put on and all the effects that we do with the Seminole Theater, it's really taking something away from that atmosphere that I think our residents have come to really, really love and enjoy. And I don't even know where the closest alternative would be. So just something to think about, and I'm all for the pumpkin patch thing too, and I just think that we're resourceful enough, we could probably do both of these events and give 2 quality events. I don't know when fall fests generally run. I would assume it's probably late September into maybe the 1st of November. So I think there's plenty of time and opportunities to maybe consider that. I didn't see, and maybe I always miss it, a reserves balance that we're holding, right? How much money do we have in reserves? And especially, I'm going to knock on wood now because thank God this hurricane season looks like it's been pretty quiet for us.
Amen.
But in future events, we may need some money to, and I think we even charge a hurricane fund thing on one of our utility bills. So you don't need to let me know tonight, but if we can let all of council know what our reserves look like, not only for the general fund, but for any of the emergency funds that we have set up. And then I talked about this a few times before, and we don't need to know this tonight, but can we begin to start thinking about the utilities, bad and uncollected debts to the city, so we can get a plan for that? No, I don't need a response for that tonight. Just a reminder.
That's
Councilman,
coming.
we already have a plan for you based on our conversation a couple of weeks.
Good.
So we're coming in October with a revenue workshop.
All right, perfect. I'm all yours. And then I noticed something about a restroom conversion to storage at Harris Field, what restrooms are we restoring to just create storage at?
So let me take the first step before the Parks Director. There are a restroom building in Harris Field, which is located close to the raw water main that we actually are using to supply our. So I've been trying to be silent about some of the nuances about Durham, public health, and issues. So suffice it to say that that is not an appropriate location for a toilet.
Which facility?
On
are you
the
talking
east side of Harris Field?
about? The one that just sits out there right by the rodeo main?
No, it's not by the radio. It's on the east, by the basketball area.
Oh, over by the,
Oh, yeah.
by, what was it, 162, 167, whatever it is?
So let me give you a little hint.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into too much detail. I don't want to attract
No worries.
county.
No, I was just concerned about the one at Harris Field.
I'm
So-
not allowed to be within 1,000 feet of a source of drinking water.
Okay.
This is less than that. So we're lucky.
Okay.
So enough said.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That's all I've got. Bring back Halloween if you can, and we'll figure out the pumpkin patch thing too. Thank you.
Let me address at least where I am, and I haven't been in contact with staff. Wait,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't-
it's a dual event.
Okay.
Kind of, and here's my thought. The trick or treat is for the smaller kids, rather than the free-for-all with the big kids and the parents that are coming. You know, we spend a lot of money here on, and everybody's getting the same candy, you know, and couple that with, you know, haunted houses, the younger kid haunted houses, the big kid haunted houses, costume contest, you know, a fall festival and limited trick or treat, age restricted is what I have in mind. All in one nighttime event. No, we're not making that go away. I don't think that's anybody's contemplation. Yeah.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. The intent is to blend. We will continue to have the kiddies haunted house and the adult haunted house, and now we're adding the element of the pumpkin patches and, you know, all the stuff. So it's intended to be a blended event, not an elimination of the Halloween event. It's blended. It's a blended. We're not removing the element. It's just expanding.
Councilman Davis?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I echo my colleagues that this is an excellent job done on this budget. They're very hard to do. Takes hours and hours, revision time, you name it. It's a lot. And I very much appreciate the effort of the staff. And as the staff comes together to make an intelligent budget, is a lot of work. So, Mr. City Manager, well done to you and your staff. I actually have had my questions answered in our various briefings. I have nothing for you tonight because the briefings that I've received have been so squared away that what you had narrated was no surprise at all. I saw everything coming. So it was, again, very well done. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to congratulate the Finance Department. Excellent job. And also Mr. Siri for all the accomplishments that we have done this year. Congratulations, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I typically am one of those who like to dive into the details of the budget, and I can tell you this year that my questions were really answered in our one-on-ones as well as the original briefing. My only concern with the budget is it's never really enough. You know, we can always ask for more, but it's never really enough. Just something to be cognizant of, but the budget was well put together this year. The individual line items matched up throughout the different budgets that I reviewed. I do have a couple of quick questions. I know we didn't add this on our special events committee, but I know there was a special request from the old City of Homestead Museum downtown. They usually request some funding, and I know it was late this year. So maybe if there's some special events funds available.
I think there was 50 in the,
I think we have some
budget.
allocation for them in the
Yes.
budget.
I missed that.
I remember seeing
How
50
much is
for the
that?
Town Hall Museum.
So
Okay.
previous years, the allocation, I believe, was 25,000. I believe we have done it, we have increased it to 53,000.
Okay, I missed that completely then. I'll have to go back and look at that.
So you
It's
admit
good.
you dozed off during
No,
his
In his
presentation.
presentation today, I might have. One thing I would like us to look at is let's go electronic with this information. We've had 2 budget books printed out for each of us as we've monitored. We're going to do another one probably next week. We have several hundred pages of every week. It's time we start getting with the program and become paperless. We always talk, I get tired of my office. It's cluttered at home with papers all over the place. It's time to go paperless. So with that, also with the special events, one thing we need to look at is we didn't really talk about, and maybe VSG is going to help us out with this, but FIFA next year. We didn't have any really funding set aside for that.
For FIFA 26, the county has a committee that's looking for money. They've reached out to us for financial support, and we declined. What we're looking at is to explore options for legacy projects that is sponsored by either FIFA, because what the county has in place is not officially affiliated with FIFA. It's an independent platform. We are still looking for sponsorships. Instead of committing general fund, we're looking for sponsorship. So it's still a work in progress. Okay. If the will of the council is to make a special allocation for FIFA 26, we'll do that. But we'll, again, when I say sponsorship, it's inclusive of VSGS, which is the new entity that is going to invest at the Homestead Regional Park, for them to be able to meet that sponsorship requirement for Homestead.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just add my thank yous, along the lines of those of my colleagues. We've come a long way in the last 5 years, and we were, my saying, looking for coins in the couch cushions. And I have great confidence in this team. They've been more involved, I think, with each of us earlier on, so that adjustments and accommodations could be made, so that we all know what's coming, rather than when we get this 150 or 200 pages just a few days before this meeting. We were all well informed, and as look, you're never totally happy. Vice Mayor says there's never enough, but this is something we can all be proud of, and for that I want to thank the manager and the entire staff for bringing this forward. And I think it says a lot that we don't have people in the audience tonight with torches and pitchforks, as far as I know, in the back row there. I've been in the seats as mayor and a member of council in years where we did. And I think it speaks well that we do not have that discontent here tonight as we deliberate this budget. So with that, let me open the public hearing. We'll take public comments on the budget. Let me open the public hearing. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Brandy Ramirez, 2231 Southeast 1st Street. First, want to say public comment to our community. I want to thank them for their phone calls and their messages in regards to its election season. So I definitely will be very involved, and I look forward to meeting and sitting down with the 2 new names that submitted. So I look forward to that contact and working together for City of Homestead. And definitely just wanted to ask City Manager a quick question, if he's available for a 30-minute meeting on Friday, so I can just address concerns off of the meeting.
My office will reach out to you.
Perfect. I look forward to that. So I won't address any other concerns here, but I do want to say great work for the team. I was glad to hear that our deputy manager mentioned there was additional funds for the Homestead Museum. Good job, great work with the budget. And I do have one question. Was there a survey done reference the 300 and something thousand for the holiday event funds? And the only reason why I asked that, because it's a lot of money. And I really feel that that should go to the Homestead Police Department. They're doing great work in our community, keeping our community safe, the HOAs. I want to commend them for a job well done in the Ventanas del Sol community recently. There was somebody trying to open car doors, and Homestead responded right away, less than a minute, to make sure our community was safe. So I just want to see if there was a survey out to the citizens, reference the 300 and something thousand towards the holiday, because I know a lot of us here in Homestead support the Homestead Police Department.
So the expenditure for the project that you referenced was a publicly heard item before the city council with an option for public comment like you're doing now. So to that extent, if there was public participation.
Perfect, great. Thank you so much for answering my questions. And thank you again. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Just
Jennifer.
a tip, to the extent that you can, if you can email some of your topics so that they can be prepared and make the best use of the time that's allocated.
Great idea. I definitely will. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on the proposed adoption of the budget? Anyone online? Nope. No one present? So we will close the public hearing then, and I will ask for a motion to approve tab 2, adoption of fiscal year 2026 budget. Moved by, she beat you to the punch. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Councilman Cannibal. Are there any final questions or comments from council? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilwoman Avila? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Moving right along to tab 3, car number 4696. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 3 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 6, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 3, Permits, Division 2, Fees, Section 6-51, Refunds, Time Limitations, Relocation, etc., to modify refund amounts related to building permit fees, Section 6-52, Building permit and related fees, to modify and incorporate the building permit and inspection fee schedule into the code, Section 6-53, fines against contractors during unpermitted construction, clarifying conditions related to the issuance of building permits, and Section 6-54, fees for motorsports complex, to remove and delete building permit fee waivers, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by the Vice Mayor. I'm assuming implicit in that, as this is a second reading, we're waiving the staff report. Any public comment? Let's close the public hearing and have a roll call vote.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilwoman Avila? Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Moving on to tab 4, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 4 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 16, Local Business Taxes and Business Regulations, Article 2, Local Business Tax Receipts, Section 16-39, Local Business Tax Receipt Inspection, required for inspection fee, to modify and incorporate the established inspection fee schedule, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Roth. Second by Councilwoman Bailey. Implicit in the motion is a waiving of the staff report on second reading. Is there anyone in the public, either online or on the audience, who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote on tab 4.
Councilman Davis? Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila? Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And Mr. Pearl, tab 5.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 5 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 2 Administration, Division 2 Procedure for zoning amendments, special exception permits, plan unit development submittals, and variances, etc., Section 30-51 fees for public hearings and other items established, to modify the existing public hearing fee schedule, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilman Cannonball. Yeah. Snooze, you lose. Seconded by the Vice Mayor on this one. Let me open the public hearing. Is there anyone online? We'll close the public hearing then and ask for a roll call vote on tab 5.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilwoman Avila? Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And moving on to car number 4687, tab 6. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 6 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City of Homestead Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 24, Street, Sidewalks, and Other Places, Article 1 in general by creating Section 2-6, right-of-way permit fees, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilman Cannonball. We open the public hearing. Is there anyone online? We close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Avila? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Cannonball? Councilwoman Bailey? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And moving on to next week, tab 7, correct?
Yes. Tab 7 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City of Homestead Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 28 Utilities, Article 1 in general, Article 3, Division 2, Water, and 3, Sewer, Article 4, Water Sewer Connection, and Article 6, Deposits, in order to adjust the rates and charges levied for the provision of water and sewer services, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, and providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Cannonball. Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? No one online? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote.
Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila? Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And finally, tab 8, a resolution, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 8 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, affirming that all revenues derived from city utility services rendered outside the municipal boundaries, including any surcharge authorized pursuant to Section 180.191 Florida statute, shall be recorded exclusively in the applicable utility enterprise fund and not in the general fund, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Pearl. Is there any objection to waiving the staff report? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? Moved by Councilman Bailey, second by Councilman Davis. Is there anyone either online or in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and let's have a roll call vote on tab 8, please.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Avila? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Cannonball? Yes. Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And tab 9, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 9, there was
Yeah.
a replacement resolution that was circulated on the dais, just
right.
Okay. Titled, this resolution is
Substitution.
Yes. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the application for the award of financial assistance in the amount of $100,000 from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for drone replacement, authorizing the acceptance of financial assistance award in accordance with the fiscal year 25-26 drone replacement program financial assistance agreement between the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the City of Homestead, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement and all related documents, establishing a budget and the amount of the financial assistance awarded, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion on this item, moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by Avila. We've got to the finish line first on this one. Any questions or comments from the public? Anyone present or online? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll have a roll call vote on tab 9.
Councilwoman Avila? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And moving on to tab 10, if you would, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Tab 10 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, supporting capacity improvements for the northbound on-ramp to Florida's Turnpike at Southwest 312th Street, Northeast 8th Street, Campbell Drive, and Southwest 152nd Avenue, Northeast 28th Avenue, requesting the Florida Department of Transportation, Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, and Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works to facilitate and expedite such improvements in the interest of public safety, providing for implementation, providing for submission, and providing for an effective date.
Amen to that. Moved by Cannibal, seconded by.
And just a quick
Avila.
quick reminder to staff, in order for us to have a little more teeth in this, to see if we can find what the other amounts of casualties and accidents have been in other exchanges, so that we can compare.
Versus this one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely so. Okay, any public comment on this item? No one online. We'll close the public hearing, and we need to have a roll call vote on the resolution on tab 10.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Cannibal?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And.
Mayor, real quick, please,
yes.
I'm sorry, on that item, I did ask for us to look into requesting some additional signage to help with the traffic flow and direction in the meantime of this improvement being done, to help reduce the cutting off to get on the turnpike. Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, I believe that concludes the agenda for the budget hearing and special call meeting. Anything further for this agenda, Mr. Manager or Mr. Attorney? All right.
Done, Mr. Mayor.
We'll move to, we need a motion to adjourn this meeting. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Now, I think procedurally what we need to do is move to reconvene the committee of the whole. It's been moved. We have a second. It's been seconded. All in favor to reconvene? Aye. Now, before we get too deep into this, we may need to go ahead and move to extend the time for the proceedings tonight. If 11:30, don't change. 8:30 is our cutoff. Let's move it to 8:45. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Is there any objection to a 5-minute break before we get into this agenda? All right, we'll reconvene in 5 minutes.
make some people take advantage of that 5 minutes.
If you all are ready, I'm ready. We got 5 here. We're good. Should just call it 10 and be done with it, right? All right, Madam Clerk, are you ready to continue? All right. We are now continuing the Committee of the Whole portion of the meeting. Our first item would be, we've had the roll call, we've had the additions, deletions, referrals. Our first item will be tab 1, approval of the July 8th, 2025 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Move it.
It's been moved and seconded. Are any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Next is tab 2, motion to place car number 4722 on the council agenda, which is a City Hall access control system replacement. Waive the staff report. We have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Avila. Second by Councilman Davis. All in favor? Any opposed? Yep. Next is a motion to place car number 4643 on the council agenda, a disposal of the neighborhood stabilization property at 105 Northeast 17th Street. Is there anything further we need to know that we haven't? Yes. You're going live now. Going live for us. Okay.
You want to waive staff report? No.
Well, one quick question, and you may not have an answer for me. You know, we had talked previously, to the extent we can we give preference to city employees for this or the other property?
I wouldn't know what that looks like. And again, my only concern and my recommendation is we need to get the most out of this, because we do have to use those funds first and foremost to repay HUD for the purchase and rehab of that property. And then the rest of the funds, we want to use it to rehab the existing ones so we can get rid of those as well. So
I guess maybe it should be termed not preference of pricing, but preference in opportunity.
Mr. Director, I would rather the city attorney opine on the appropriateness, since it's federal monies that was involved in the initial purchase.
Your theory contemplates all offers being equal.
Yeah.
A preference, so for financially, I'll double check with HUD regulations, but what's generally governed is the money that's covered by that. But I'll see if there's anything we can do from a procurement perspective that would allow
whatever we can do.
Yes.
All right. Any further questions or comments on this item? Is there anyone here in the public wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, motion to place car number 4679 on the council agenda, disposal of neighborhood stabilization property located at 75 Northwest 3rd Street. We have a motion to forward this. Moved by Councilman Ross, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. We open the public hearing. Very clear. Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
real quick. So this is inside Pioneer Village. It has been an issue for a very long time now, and I wanted to see if there's a way for us to incorporate something with the buyer that they have a certain amount of time to fix the property up or board it up appropriately, because neighbors are afraid of having that abandoned looking home next to them.
Just note to staff. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the pictures really told a sad story of both of these properties. Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? And then let's see. We did 5. We did 6. Okay, we just did 75 Northwest 3rd Street. Okay, right. And we did 5, we did 6, 7. All right. This is car number 4699, a motion to place this item on the council agenda, the retirement of the Police Department K-9 Joe, and convey to its handler. Yes, motion with a
Mayor?
comment.
Yes, I did make a recommendation to staff, and I hope to see it maybe in our arts and public places projects in the future to do some canine
Recognitions?
recognitions in our doggy park. Thank you.
Okay.
I have an idea
Right, yeah.
for next meeting.
In the sitting position. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Do we have a second? A second by the Vice Mayor. Or anyone wishing to make a public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Going on to tab 8, motion to place car number 4700 on the council agenda, the South Florida Financial Crimes Strike Force. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Apologies, we'll rob staff of their thunder in establishing this. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Is there a presentation we need, or, okay. Sure, Chief.
Thank you, Council and Mayor. This is the State Attorney's Financial Crime Strike Force, and what it does is it allows us to have more resources. It's an MOU. There's 24 agencies on it. It's for drug trafficking and money laundering cases. So it's going to help us with my methodology of increasing interoperability with the Homestead Police Department and other law enforcement agencies.
Tremendous. It's been moved, seconded. I'll open public here, open the floor. Seeing none, I'll close. And all in favor? Any opposed? Next item is tab 9, motion to place car number 4695 on the council agenda, reading Miami-Dade County Landscape Covenant for Tree Grant, FDACS number 32013. Any objection to waiving the staff report? We have a motion. Moved by Vice Mayor, second by Councilman Cannonball. Let me open the public hearing very quickly. Close the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now we need tab 10, motion to place car number 4579 on the council agenda, the water towers fill in art. And I guess we're going to have to slow down on this one a little bit. Mr. Manager, do we have a presentation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Director of Development Services, Ms. Deborah Starch, is going to walk us through the presentation.
Well, as you know, we have 3 water towers, the one at Whitcock Park, the one at Harris Field, and the one at the racetrack. We identify them with colors, so we're going to go first with the one at Whitcock Park, and it's the blue one. So we will show you the 3 artists that it's on. It's on. We received 9 submittals. We selected 3 of the artists. 2 are in Zoom, and 1 is local and is here. So I will. So here, these are some of the proposals that we received from the 9 different artists. These are the artists, the 9 artists, and the ones that were selected were Christian Stanley, Street Art Revolution, and Jose Andres Carmial. Jose Andres is here with us today. So this is in Whitcock Park. This is a proposal by Street Art Revolution. The next one is the proposal by Jose Andres Carmiel. And this is a proposal by Christian Stanley. Next tower is Harris Field. This is the proposal by Street Art Revolution. The one by Andres Carmiol, Jose Andres Carmiol, and the proposal by Christian Stanley. Next one is the racetrack. This is the proposal by Street Art Revolution. This is the one by Jose Andres Carmiol. And this is the one by Christian Stanley.
Thank you. Councilman Roth.
I'm confused. Is this supposed to be something that goes in after the 250 celebration, or
supplements it?
It's going on it with that. So it's
going on with that, and then it can be removed, or you can decide on the different themes. What you have to select is the type of art that you want, and then, for example, if on Harrisfield you want the rodeo to be, to me, memorialized, it can be. If you want another theme, then once we select, we will talk with the artist and we will choose the themes that you prefer.
So it's already in addition to what's on there now?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have what's on there now versus what it would look like? 'Cause I went through those pretty fast, so.
Well, the Centennial, for example. That's all that's on each tower.
Oh, that's all that's on it?
That's all that's on.
So this will be something, okay. All right. Perfect.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me start out by saying that I'm typically not an art critic, but I can tell you that based on the proposals that I've seen, I just can't sign off on any one of these at this point in time. I don't think it brings the true flavor of our community out to light in the current proposals. I'd be happy to sit and chat with the different artists and give them some ideas. I'm the 50,000-foot guy when it comes to art. Okay, but I also like what's aesthetically pleasing to my eye, and I just don't see that in any of these. So that's where I stand currently. I know we did 9 artists. You've picked a handful of them. Maybe we need to go back out and take another look. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Councilwoman Bailey. How did I know that?
Do we need to choose one artist, or can we potentially choose 3?
You can choose 3, yes, one for each.
It's by tower.
Yes.
Per tower, okay. So is the goal to choose one today or go back out?
No, I think this is a discussion item and direction. So council can direct the administration to bring him back at the 9/24 meeting for additional discussion and a vote.
I don't think that some of the depictions of them are a fair way to show. I think the picture of the crane is stretched too much to show how it would wrap around the tower. I think we could do a better job of giving a visual. The one for Whittop, for example, doesn't show the 250 in there with it, with the crane. So I think that it's important to have a realistic visual of what it'll look like. And I know that there were a lot of submissions, and I do appreciate the color selections and all the other things that went into the board. But I don't think that we could get a clear representation of what this would look like specifically. I think this is beautiful, but like I said, I think that it is stretched in a way that it's not meant to look. And again, that we would need to see that logo along with it, and encourage the artist to tie into the colors of the logo, that it needs to be something that's a little more cohesive. I think there's a lot of great potentials. For example, if you go to the one for Whitcop from Stanley, see that one, you can kind of see, I would still like a little more colors that go with the red, white, and blue, but I could see that on a water tower. But it's also a much clearer representation. You can see here that it doesn't look stretched. So I think if we could take a little more time in more of a true representation of what the art would look like, I think we have a lot to work with. I would love to see, for the first time, one of our local artists who has done a lot in the community to be representative of some of the great art that we have here in the city. But I do think that we need to go back and adjust some of these pictures to make it a clearer view for next time.
Thank you. Who's next? Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. I think I would like, for example, for the tower by the racetrack, I would like perhaps the Speedway to opine and give us some ideas on some renderings that they could help formulate for that water tower. If I had to choose from the examples, I would lean more towards the one that I'm seeing on screen. I'm not sure which artist that is, but I would want to make sure that we maybe tweak it to incorporate any ideas or visuals that Speedway would like to see in it as well. And then for the Whitcop Park Tower, I was leaning more towards the Christian Stanley version. And then for Harris Field, I don't see the example with the 250 logo in it, so I don't know if that is the true design concept, or if it, no, go back one.
One more.
Sorry.
Okay, right there. Oh.
Sorry. This one. No, I was.
Swipe left, swipe right.
The one that says "Welcome to Homestead," which I did like that it had that reference, but I didn't see how the 250 logo is being incorporated. If it's just like on the backside or where the seams are. So to Councilwoman's point, maybe getting a better visual as to how these would look with the incorporation of the 250, and maybe coming back with some more ideas and some more options based on the comments that we have tonight. But overall, it's an exciting idea. I've always envisioned having artwork on those water towers, so to see it come tonight for some consideration is exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, Councilman?
Yeah, the Harris Field one, I like the fact that it says "Welcome to Homestead," because it's the most traveled road that will get the most visibility, and people maybe just driving through, they don't even realize they're in the city of Homestead. So at least it brings that out. But if we're incorporating it with the 250 logo,
It doesn't work together.
It doesn't make sense there now, but maybe if they change the color, thing in the background, and you can't even see it on there. So that's just my 2 cents, and I'm kind of like Vice Mayor Fletcher. I'm like, don't have an eye for this stuff.
Do you want the artist to comment on that? He's here.
On which one?
On this one, the one that says "Welcome to Homestead."
Well, I don't think it's important yet.
I think for time purposes right now, if you just take in the feedback that you're hearing tonight and maybe tweak it and give another option, bring in some more ideas using the colors that would incorporate the logo, and maybe give us some different font considerations to choose from, just to give us some more ideas.
Yeah, and I think after the 250 celebration next year,
that's right.
Then we can come up with some of these other creativities. But if we're going to be in tandem with what the 250 logo looks like, I think we need to incorporate that into it. So that's all.
Right, and I don't mean this. I'm not enamored with anything that's in front of us tonight. But I think in terms of what our priority is, going back to whoever mentioned it, the Speedway, that's probably the one we really need to focus on, have their buy-in, and have that set for the championship race next year, but not done 2 weeks beforehand, that it can be used in promotional photos and videos and commercials in the lead up to that. So if we could maybe just, bring them in, and I know they're in the process of tweaking their branding and their logo, and if, with their consent, if they would like to have that, because the original logo for the track was on the water tower, the very busy checkered flag and reds, and, let's focus on that one, and then, kind of get in the groove of things and deal with the rest. Okay. So, staff, do you have the commentary you need to go forward? All right.
Okay, we'll
Thank
work
you.
with the racetrack to
Okay.
to refine that design.
Yeah, let's see where we.
So instead, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Instead of, at this dais, is there something that we could do this in a workshop environment
Yeah.
to get a little more creativity out of it? This is kind of barren, and there's not a whole lot of people
Yeah.
here. I'd like to see more input from the local
Yeah.
community as well.
On easels or
Yes.
hung up on the
Yeah.
wall in large format like we're gonna have at the I hope we're gonna have at the Transportation Master Plan meeting where we've got these big color maps that they used, and then we can really wander around and get a feel for what's there. Right. Mr. Manager, anything further for this agenda?
Nothing left on the agenda other than just a couple of items, upcoming events. On 9/11, which is this coming Thursday, we have the council workshop on the Transportation Master Plan. So I urge the mayor and council to oblige us with their presence. Tentatively scheduled to run for 1 hour. Hopefully it can spill over from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. at the main conference room upstairs. One final item is last Saturday we celebrated the city's wellness and health fair. It was a resounding success. A lot of people were happy. They are asking for more. So we'll be reaching out. Kudos to city staff Gretchen Kano. She here? She did wonderfully well, putting it all together with other staff. Yesterday, Monday, September the 8th, we were pleased to welcome the city's new building official, Mr. Luis Hernandez. Is Mr. Hernandez here?
There he is.
Mr. Hernandez comes to the city of Homestead from city of Fort Lauderdale. Incidentally, he lives in Saldade. He lives in the Redlands. So this is like coming back home. Just learned yesterday that he used to be a city employee back in the days. So, Mr. Hernandez, again, welcome. And on behalf of the administration, we're presenting you to council.
Thank you. Well, building official, new building official. Thank you. I hope we made a relatively good impression tonight. Not a good first meeting. All right, council,
I'm
anything
done.
further?
Mr.
Yes,
Sorry.
Mr.
If I
Attorney.
could, before we leave, just request an executive session.
Make it happen.
In the matter of Lester Brown v. the City of Homestead et al. It's case number 2025-008153 in Miami-Dade County.
Thank you. Let's
Thank
make
you.
it happen. All right, nothing further. We have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor? Thank you all. Good night.